right, Caleb. Started. Right, I'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners of Neosho County. We're in Erie, Kansas. This is a regular public meeting. It's Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, 2 o'clock. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, then followed by the invocation by Caleb Stover of the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We stay standing.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, keep this nation under your care and bless the leaders of our land and of this place, that we may be a people at peace among ourselves and a blessing to all other nations upon the earth. Grant that we may choose trustworthy leaders, contribute to wise decisions for the general welfare, and serve you faithfully in our generation and to future generations. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda as printed? I need to consent agenda. We need to add payroll clearing and 2 leave requests from Dave Burnett. And I think I'd like to pull the accounts payable off the consent agenda and talk about that a little later in the meeting.
Those changes, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, is there any public comment? Okay, if not, so we have the consent agenda. I'll move the consent agenda, which consists of meetings from May 16th, May 30th, June 13th, budget work session for outside entities, another work session on the 13th, and a regular meeting on June 13th. Vacation request for Road and Bridge Director, leave request for Dave Burnett for the month of July and July the 3rd, and payroll clearing in the amount of $77,709.62.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 3-0. Sorry, I didn't hear you. All right. I think all of those will need to be signed. Is this one? We did have a scheduled attendee at 2:05 with Evergy. I don't believe that they're here. So I guess we'll go on to our second attendee that was scheduled for 2:20. Virginia Crossland-Macha is here.
Maybe I can have his time.
We'll see.
No.
So we appreciate you coming. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. First, I appreciate you allowing me to be here and being able to speak about this subject. I'm Virginia Macha. I know a few of you, but I live in Iola, Kansas, and I've been in Southeast Kansas, big supporter of small business for probably the last 20 years. Served on the SEK board. I've served as a workforce development chair for Area 5 for about 5-6 years when no one else wanted to take it. And I'm just a fixer. I'm kind of a solutionist because sometimes you only know what you know, and people need help, and you see that. And keeping rural and being affordable and livable, it's kind of where I focused. Last 3 years, I've been very about our story, what we're going to leave as our legacy. We have a better story to tell in Southeast Kansas. I've learned a lot about how we were the manufacturing base forever. We had so many products being made here in Southeast Kansas. We had a skilled labor force that was probably non-comparable to any other place in Kansas. And I learned that as the workforce development, but I also learned that sometimes when we don't keep our eye off the ball and we're too busy trying to do our own thing, things happen. So I got a call, and I've been involved in the last 18 months in a line called the Blackberry Wolf Creek line, transmission line from Joplin, Missouri to Wolf Creek. The original contract said it connected to the nuclear plant, so immediately it was like, well, that is a little strange. This engagement was on behalf of the generational landowner. She was a young girl, inherited the land, built a horse arena to teach kids how to be cowboys. And she called me and asked me, would she help, would you consider helping me because you know the pathways in government? I know nothing about it, but I'm willing to take on the Kansas Corporation Commission. And with those words, I was like, start telling me your story, because it can't be emotional. It has to be, it has to be about something that is not just emotional, but what you leave behind. And when the cards are stacked against someone, when they shouldn't be. When government should work for every citizen, and it doesn't. And I had noticed that for the last 3 years with the mandates and those kind of things. And I said, sure. Her story was interesting because I saw where one commissioner dissented on a vote when one commissioner changed the game to give a private company the right to take our private land and become a utility of Kansas. So this is how I got involved in this. When you see a move like that where you actually remove the lawyers of the KCC and give it to the Southwest Power Pole, all kinds of red flags went up. And obviously I wasn't understanding the process because this is not my lane. There's a lot about utilities, and it's messy and not understandable. A lot of rules, a lot of real players, but it involves the federal government. So today I just would like to talk to you a little bit about your consideration for the moratorium. I went there and I asked Kansas, I asked the leadership, where's our energy plan for Kansas? And from my tracking since 2012, when I kind of left the scene of energy and working on just little initiatives, and I spent 9 years at the state fair running it, trying to get it out of the red. No one was talking about an energy plan, but there's been a lot of money on studies. And that's when I started unpearling an onion. And it just seemed like utilities aren't going up, down for anyone. It seems to be more untransparent. And what I found was, it was 2019. They did a special study, Southwest Power Pole. No one realizes that when one of the players changes who they are, then no one else changed. The KCC didn't address that. Southwest Power Pole became a more powerful player in moving our electric around and controlling it. And they were no longer just a management. They were in the middle of delivering it. And delivering transmission is a huge deal when you don't make any energy. And so looking at that, this 19 study put us into a 21 scope of massive expansion in industrial solar. We're not talking about an acre, 2 acres. We're talking about massive expansion. And there are no guidelines. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And I found it strange that our leadership didn't understand it. And so these new transmission lines come with new tariffs, and they're called open access transmission tariffs that are lucrative. You go from 50 basis points to 100 basis points, changes the game. You go from contracts that you're guaranteed by the federal government not to lose any money. Where do you get a job like that? And we're building a line that cost Kansans 16.4% of whatever total they decide that is. That is a lot. Plus, 200 people were impacted and have, like, almost 50% of those people will go to eminent domain. And I think that's unacceptable. And so when we don't understand, and there's no energy plan for Kansas, we have to look at Southeast Kansas, and we need to get a plan. And just calling, throwing the flag, just calling break time. No one wants to do that either. It just seems they keep rolling, and landowners don't know what to do. Threatening the eminent domain. So I got a hearing on eminent domain. Well, if you want to throw 2 words at the Capitol, throw eminent domain, because they come after you, and there's 50 lawyers that show up, and then they say there's no free lunch for property owners. And I'm like, so the HO problem is eminent domain should start at your county level. These are the people that know you. Maybe they don't even know what's going on. And most times I find that to be the case. You only know what you know. You got to assume that about everybody and everything. And these are the days that we're all kind of silos and pieces of information that flow like they normally do. And we're not having any conversation about this. So when you're talking about massive industrial solar, and eastern Kansas has been targeted, I began to work with other groups who found the same thing. No transparency, no one knows the plan, private companies running over everyone, signing leases, telling other people they sign leases, hosing down an 85-year-old lady who they told her friend on the next section over, who she knew all her life and played checkers with, that he had signed. And she was so disappointed, but she was like, she didn't understand it when he didn't sign. And so, those kind of things that happen to older people, that's when I really get engaged, because they need protected. They need to know that they can live on their land, that they worked all their life for, and no one's going to take it from them. And so, why our state? Why Kansas? Why the Midwest? Because we have land, and they want renewable. So my quest became, what is it that I don't understand? And then this net zero carbon. NextEra, who's in our state, and who's probably one of the baddest actors I've ever been up against. And not that they're bad people. People aren't bad. It's just they're selling a bad product for Kansas because we kind of like our freedom. And when you can take 1.6 million acres in my southeast Kansas and it be impacted, and the KCC commissioners and turn all these things that aren't right, but go ahead and say, okay, you can build the line. I just found that just bewildering when you have just discovered you don't have control of the sales of electric because of an integrated market system that's being developed. So these players have all enjoyed trade service areas. Pretty much guarantee no one's going to compete with them. And all of a sudden, there's this integrated market that we're like, I don't even understand that there's all these players and all these new solar and new wind and 700 windmills in Dickinson County in the Flint Hills. I've got calls from all over the state because I created this Stand for the Land Kansas, because you had to have an outlet for these people to get information. They didn't understand what's going on either. And so when we talk about zero carbon, we've got to be real clear about what the other side calls net zero. And Nextera is the biggest carbon cleaner, and they're very proud of it. Go to their website. They're very proud of it. And so we're talking to the tune of changing the way that we live, basically. In Kansas, a rapid according to Mr. John Paulson, he was an advisor to Obama. He's been in on the environmental end of this. He truly believes that, whatever this science is, it's wholeheartedly he's all in. He's he has studied this with all the other experts, and he has a 15-minute clip or a 7-minute clip that I played for 100 people in Kansas City who asked me to come and talk. And until you play, I just played the 7-minute clip and then went from there, because people need to know what I've been through in the last 18 months, getting to the 7-minute clip that I was sent through a friend, because he's in that world, and it's a world. And so the 7-minute was like a shocker, because they were so blatant about it. Like, we're landowners. That's how our counties build. Our economy's built. Our budgets are built. One for all. We were self-sustaining at one time. We had our own base load electric. And these guys want to take it offline. They want us to be, they can't have base load because you would have reliable. It's now equitable. It's all about equitable. And these people, it's almost like a religion to them. So when he talks about transmission lines, let me see it here, there's going to be a rapid expansion of transmission. And what's here now will turn into a higher grade line. So you see Evergy going to people saying, we already got an easement, we're just going to make it bigger. Well, there's a lot of people that impacts. We have one guy that will literally own only 100 foot in between two easements of his home. And he's a banker in Girard. And what do you do when you build your dream house? And it's now, you own 100 feet in between two lines. Because Nextera and Evergy, they do their own thing. These transmission tariffs are so lucrative that everyone's racing to increase the line so they can carry the green energy, and those costs. I'm going to be the first to admit that it's the most bizarre way to move transmission, but we've been selling 40% of our wind to California for the last 7 years. Did anybody know that? So when they built these windmill fields, they were to build transmission lines, and that's what the subsidy was that they got from the state. And over 8 years, we spent, as utility customers, $1.2 billion estimated in utility fees extra for these windmills that couldn't get on the grid. So net zero is a rapid expansion of transmission. That means we can't do business the same way. We're going to pretty much ignore how we treat landowners. We will just pretty much eminent domain you, and that's been talked about at the federal level. We don't care what it, we're going to pay you pittance for your land, and there's not much you can say about it, and you're going to get to pay for it because you get to pay for the transmission fees. So all Kansans will be on the hook. The CRG today is now in a battle to increase these rates. I believe 47% is what I heard for Kansas City. 47%. Wow. I mean, that was a shocker. But we also get to pay for when they decommission our baseload energy. We get to pay for those fees. We get to pay for their accelerated depreciation. We get to pay for, and that will be on your bill. People in Southeast Kansas have that from Empire. $3.50 a month for every customer. So these little things make a big difference to older people on fixed incomes. We all know that. But it's impacting our families, our young families. It's impacting anyone that wants to build the American dream in Southeast Kansas will be penalized because we're going to be paying for all this expansion, which they don't care about the price, but I think it was like almost $2 trillion by 2050. That's a ton of money. So they need 5,000 miles of CO2 pipeline. So at the KCC, I'm already seeing the injector wells are asking for changes to inject carbon that's it's contained in some kind of gel, I'm not sure, but it said caustic on it, into the Earth's cavity for a tariff to capture.
Gotta get rid of it some way, right?
5,000 miles of it. So imagine, are they going to ask you about what you want? I mean, bidirectional drilling, what are they going to do? 5,000 miles of pipeline? Are they going to ask you about that as a landowner? I don't know. So these industrial solar fields also come with hydrogen hubs, because the hydrogen hub subsidy is connected to the solar, industrial solar. And so Gardner Lawrence is facing that. That solar field is the footprint of the city of Lawrence. That's massive. That's a massive amount of land. And now you have a hydrogen hub, which I don't know a lot about, but from what I've read and talked to the ConocoPhillips guy that I know, they don't know a lot about it either, but it's flammable, and compressed hydrogen is very explosive. And so, well, it's like the bomb.
Hydrogen bomb.
Hydrogen bomb. So, these kind of things, do they fit within our communities, our landowners, our state, without anybody asking? But it seems as though no one really cares, because at the Capitol, I got 0. Well, I did get a little action with the eminent domain. But I did a transparency bill, who I flew back from Florida to testify for. The Senate worked it that day. It was headed to the Senate floor, transparency, and they fell on it. And that is when I knew, wow, there is something so wrong with this. But $2.5 trillion is what they want to spend by 2030. That's a lot of money, guys. They don't care if they spend our gross domestic product to get what they want. But we are supplying, or we will supply, clean energy to Canada, because Canada is now part of the Southwest Power Pool. There's a huge solar field in right across the border in Mexico, and Texas is putting up a hell of a fight. And all these other states, they have problems. But the smartest thing they did was put a broker in, right of first refusal, and Farm Bureau, and a few of us, you know, we marched that one and hit a wall, but we got close to getting it to the floor. You look at this last appraisal for property owners, and you're going, I thought I just got appraised. And now market value has a whole different meaning. 427-page study. Our governor, she has a whole study on it, and she has a whole new tax plan for us in rural Kansas. We're hindering them. And like they said, changing rights of property owners, it's not business as usual. We'll do it how we have to. We're not going to ask. It didn't work for the last 2 years. And so Biden's stimulus plans have implemented a lot of, lifting the transparency, accountability is gone. The Paper Reduction Act reduced reports. The reports I did get were shocking. A company like Nextera going to the federal government and asking them in this January, to forgive their debt of $600 million and let them issue long-term bonds. Long-term bonds to be bought by some, well, Vanguard bought some, but that should tell you Enron. I mean, that's all I could think of was, well, how many times have they done this? Because I happened to find this on the docket, but they don't have to report any financials. Joe Biden's Paper Reduction Act got rid of that. So you basically had to say present, and that's it. Good go. And nothing got reported. So even for a good investigator like me, all I wanted was to make sense of all this. Until I got the 7-minute video, I had no idea. I had a lot of pieces. It was hard to explain. Nothing really resonated. Everyone thinks that you flip the button and your power comes from listening. Your power comes from Wolf Creek. Well, during this process and the public hearings, I met a lot of people. Wolf Creek not running even at 50%. Why? Well, they had an agreement with someone. So it was really to drive the market up so we could all pay higher fees. And then now we're an inconvenience. And so Kansas has not grown in the last 12 years. I can tell you why. Economic development money that we've spent at the state level. No one's accounting for the jobs. $1 billion is everyday talk up there. And test down here, it's a lot of money. And your best economic developers are the people that have invested in your community. They are part of your community. They are landowners. They are taxpayers. And they're accountable. I sat on SEK for 7 years. And it was the best thing we had going here because it was a collection of people that would reinvest their own money back into making someone else successful. So helping other people build their dream is just as good as building your own because you get to see someone else succeed. So the loss of fossil fuel jobs, massive. we can already see it. That is our base, that is our energy independence. From that sets us a standard apart from anybody in the world. The property tax becomes so high, they're removing land from people that can't pay their taxes and putting it in the land bank. Some counties are setting up. Removing property off the property roll to a land bank as an economic development tool. I was like, I felt like I was in Star Wars movie. Like, could anything else happen in the Wookiee bar? Because the land bank thing, to me, is very.
I've said it, and there's no accountability in how that is operated.
Well, and nonprofits are operating those land banks, and now cities are doing it. Blight. Well, now they got a guy going around. He's your blight czar. You got a market value czar. Now you got a blight czar. Well, stacking those chips against the regular guy, And so when I heard it, I immediately launched a letter at my commissioners. Obviously, some of them didn't get the email, but to think that that's all right. And then at the sheriff's sale, they separate the names of the owners from the land parcel descriptions. It's like, I've never seen that before. And you get, who knows if all that ended up in Kansas City. They found that most of those parcels are the good parcels, or the parcels they picked that went to the land bank and never go to the sheriff's sale. And they don't have to take any amount of money for that parcel by any private person. So it's all discretionary, and it's very un-American, I believe. I believe it's very un-American. But our communities have been built on the oil guys, the petroleum guys. Look at the amount of investment that they brought back to our communities. And now they'll be gone. And we'll be injecting carbon into the caverns of who knows what, and no one's asking questions about the underwater. Our waterways, our aquifers, no one's asking that. On these solar panels, they're built on the backs of slave labor in China. There are trade agreements against that through countries. In 21, I was on the road trying to better our communities, and some guy tells me that every industrial building in Parsons is filled with solar panels. And you take that piece of information, you go, well, what the heck's that about? Well, they had to be in the country by 21 at the end. And I was like, subsidies? I have no clue. But right now I don't have time to think about it, because it's just, you just hand those pieces of information to other people I've met. And what I've established is a network of people, regular folks. A lot of them are retired, very successful at whatever they did, accountants, software developers, a couple of IBM people. And I placed them at a table together and let them work on things that I had, but I didn't know how to get to the end product of how it all lines up. And personal data collection and centralized data collection of our personal information has happened, and I've got people working on it. But I sat down with a human rights lawyer, and this is what she said. She was in Paris when they locked down people to die in their homes, and she said, here I am, their last hope. And I believe that's what landowners will look at you as. She said, this is a human rights issue on every level, because it is about taking someone's right to succeed and pushing them back, creating an avenue they didn't want to take, not having any freedom. And she said, and inadvertently, when you lose freedom, you lose all rights. And so she was helping with the Muslim the Uyghurs in China. Huge problem, has been for years. And her stories are so horrific, I won't even tell you. It'll really mess up your day up in my firecracker season. But when she said that to me, it's not political anymore. It's about being an American and being human. And so, making people depart from their livelihoods and not being part of their community anymore, robbing our communities of assets they need. I believe that every county like this should be open to throw the flag. We gotta stop. We gotta think about it. And I know it's scary because you think that these lawyers will come after you. They're going to come after you anyway. To be honest, because it's kind of like if I didn't get in this fight, and believe me, I didn't think it was going to be a fight, and it has. It's really woke me up to when they come for you. They don't care what kind of money you have; they'll just tax you out of it, and it'll be just like the rest of them. And when you could have helped, and these people that I work with, you would never put me in the same place as them. But what I've done is become respectful of what they know and their point of view. And when it all comes down to it, it boils down to freedom, and that's one thing we all have to agree on if we're going to live in America, is freedom. And that's really what I'm here today is property owners have no idea. Have community conversation. Bring in people off my team. I gave you the people that went in front of the Kansas Senate. Wow, impressive. We have one guy that knows everything about the solar panels. Would you want to put something in your county? And the city of Chanute needs to realize this. That has 5 toxic elements involved in them. They last less than 10 years in efficiency. Right. And this guy will tell you everything that those elements do. And what happens when we have a tornado? What happens when we have, say, something we have to mitigate? And we don't know how because there's no laws. And that's what it is. There's no laws, there's no rules. It's almost like the gold rush. It's like they operate however they want. And I think that Kansas deserves better. We deserve healthier. We deserve cleaner, like we've been working for years. But we deserve prosperous for working hard. And anyway, if you notice, there will be, I sent you all a link to the entire vision, even the property valuation. And I appreciate that you're thinking forward. You're visionary. And I've been going and encouraging counties to look at that. Osage, Harvey, Douglas. That's a tough one. And always has been Cherokee, Crawford. So those commissioners are concerned as well. And we've had 400 people show up at some of those hearings in Crawford County because a lot of people are going to lose their property by eminent domain. But you know what they said? Come and get it. That's what they said in the meeting. And the three commissioners listened to this meeting. I was like, does that not mean anything to you? These people are avid hunters and they build a dream.
Virginia, I appreciate you coming, and I think that, I've just been concerned that I'd rather be ahead and looking past, into our past. I think when the wind farm came, we weren't prepared. Mm-hmm. And I see solar even more of a problem for me in that it takes our land. And I think getting ahead of it hopefully will help in the end and informing our landowners what is coming or what they want. And so that's what we're gonna talk about, a moratorium today. I think the sooner we put one in, at least be able to study these things like that you've brought up and see what kind of impact it is gonna be on our county. So I appreciate,
Well,
I think
appreciate
everyone's
you.
got your email now, because
Yeah.
you did email us,
Yeah.
with any questions and.
If you ever want to hold a community forum, these people, and the thing is, everybody in this, it's on our own dime. We don't get, we get a lot of hate mail, but it's okay. You know, but
We're used to that, too.
it's on their own dime. And some of them, those dimes are thin. And to watch people go because it's the right thing to do, this is a very encouraging thing to hear. And I appreciate your time. Any more questions?
Appreciate yours, thank you, ma'am.
Pardon?
Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Virginia. A lot to think about, but. Okay. I'm sorry, I saw that Teresa was on here for 2:30.
She's waiting. Are
Okay,
you ready?
sure. We don't have any information right from her.
She texted me some pictures just a few minutes ago, but I don't really have a way I said text them to you guys. I don't really have any other way to share that.
Hi, Teresa.
Hey, Teresa.
How are you?
Well, we're running a little late, but thank you for waiting.
Not a problem. I am out of town, but I sent a training request for Michaela Whitworth and Stacy Wright to be able to go to the Sexual and Intimate Partner Violence Conference. I know I emailed it to the commissioner a week or so ago, if I'm not mistaken. You
Is
see
this,
that?
is this for the month of December?
No, it is for July 10th and 11th.
I brought my copy.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not make a copy of it. I thought the one that I got was for December, so I thought we had time to.
That's another.
That's a different one?
That's
Okay.
It's July 10th and 11th, and so what they are doing is the cost is free, but they're giving each person that goes from their department, so it would be 2 people, $200 stipend. So that would cover the hotel, without any doubt, probably the food, and some of the travel.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Is this just more education, Teresa, or is this, we have to do this?
We don't have to do it. It's good training with what we see and do in our department.
Yes, it sounds like a good training to have. So, is there any expense? We're just approving them to go, but
Okay, like I said, we will get a $200 stipend per person. So that'll pay for the hotel, that should pay for the food, and that should cover the mileage. It's gonna
Okay.
be close there.
that'll be
Other
cool.
than that, we're only paying for their time.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve from the health department to attend the KCSDV training in Topeka on July 10th and 11th with approving whatever extra expenses are not covered.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Glad that you have those. Anything else?
Is the, for Four Corners, and we can discuss that later if you'd like.
Okay.
All right.
How's everything
Thank
else
you.
going?
I appreciate it.
All right.
You don't need anything else. Bye.
Bye. No. Really hard to hear. All right, Tohnjua.
So this week we have two new revitalization applications. One of them is at 115 East 7th here in Erie. It is the construction of a new home, approximately $100,000. I'm not sure if you got the pictures or not. They are located, partially in the flood zone. They have indicated that they are not going to be building on any part of that. They are aware that if they do build on any part of that, that it has to be done by permit through the state, and the city also has stuff, and our GIS department has made them aware of that. But from what they've indicated, they're gonna be building about 30 feet off of the ditch back, and so they'll still be
Fine. No problem, right? Do you want to approve that one? That one's in your district, but it probably goes to our column. It's always good to have new applications.
Mhm.
This is Zachary Mitchell.
Zachary Mitchell. I'll make a motion to approve the application for NRP from Zachary Mitchell at 115 East 7th Street, Erie, Kansas, as presented by our President, Stipp.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Here's the original. Okay, then you have the other one.
And then we have another one, it's Chad Newberry at 20935 80th Road, St. Paul. It's listed as a new building. It's being built connected to an existing structure, but it will actually be its own structure. It's gonna be a commercial endeavor for a seed company, that his son will be running out of that.
Nice.
So it is a commercial building, not an ag building. It'll be approximately $140,000.
He's hoping to get that pretty quick.
He said that probably construction wouldn't start until October, but they want to go ahead and get the dirt work started.
Mm-hmm.
So we do already have our pictures on that one also.
We got that motion also.
I'll make a motion to accept the application for NRPA from Chad Newberry at 20935 80th Road, St. Paul, Kansas, as presented by the Appraiser, Stipp.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. That's yours.
Oh, sorry.
Here's the first original, if you want to sign that one.
Trying to give you a copy.
If you guys don't have anything for me, that's all I've got this week. At least until Thursday.
Good. Okay. That was easy. For months.
Good to see.
I don't unless you need my signatures. Am I at the bottom?
Probably.
That's that whole, that's part of it.
I thought so.
All right, Mike. I guess we're ready for you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
No, I think I was able to do it. Thank you.
A while back, I had Tina pay you the proposal or estimate for the fracture critical bridges we have in the county. And I would like to get that approved if you agree with that. We really don't have any choice. I brought copies just in case you want to refresh your memory a little bit. And one of these will be, the most expensive one will be coming off when we get the bridge replaced on Elm Road. It's, $16,400 every year. So, but these have to be, this, we really don't have a choice on this, so. This is one I mentioned, that one up at Chanute on the Road north of Ash Grove is the one that I mentioned a while back, and we'll just shut the traffic down for the day while we're doing the inspection to save on traffic control costs. Otherwise, it would be more than that by probably $4,000 or $5,000 more. So if I could get a motion to accept that, and move forward with that.
I'll make a motion to approve contracts with bridge inspection for 5 fracture critical bridges. Master agreement for 2023 structure list
At a cost of,
at the cost of $38,350.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you for that.
Is there a particular fund that will be paid out of?
Yeah, so this out of your budget.
Hecker Construction has completed the asphalt patching that we had agreed to have them do. They've done a pretty good job, and we've got a lot of compliments on that. I wish we had more money to keep going, because I know there's almost every hard surface road in the county needs what we've done there. But hopefully we'll chip and seal over the tops of these patches, and in our hopes that they will hold up through the bridge replacement project that's coming pretty fast. So. And I will try to have an estimate on how much chip and sealing it's going to require to cover all those next meeting.
Paul, it's in your territory. Have you been down?
Yeah, that's pretty good. There's a few places that a little bumpy, but for the best part, they're good.
They're not perfect, but they're patches.
Yeah. And I think they'll be better after they go with chip and seal, help a little bit.
A while back, and Paul was part of the conversation on this, we had a request that we, at 40th and Queens, at the intersection there, there's a 40th curves off to the north and then ties into Queens, and it's kind of a dangerous intersection. I really feel that at some point we should just eliminate it and make it a regular stop across the intersection. We're not going to have time to do that before this winter when that project kicks off, but what we can do is, right now it has a yield sign at the north end of that curve, and I would like to replace that with a stop sign. I did consult with CFS. They said there wasn't a problem. I included Brett in the correspondence with CFS just so he would be involved with it, and they said that that's not a problem to do that. I are you okay with that? I think it definitely
I
needs.
definitely am.
Yeah, we tried to get rid of several of the
Yeah,
curves and put them all in the
I
stops.
think there was
There's a program that was out that they helped pay for it.
and we
submitted
still
so
have
many of them.
a handful of them out there, and I would like to eliminate all of them. But it just takes time and money, and that, so shorthanded right now that, how we just can't do it right now. But, so I'll go ahead and do that, I'll put the stop sign up there.
Everything so the horse and buggy could get around the corner.
I like the
Not
ones
for a
in Chanute,
50 mile
just
an hour
get rid of the ones. No, I'm even Chanute got rid of some of them in town, but they're still. But you go driving out in the county, it's like, oh, there's one more.
The one out of the road is one of them that was approved when we teed that road off.
There's a couple on 80th, I believe there's one on, well, there's one on 40th. East of Queens also on the gravel road.
There's one 230th still.
Yeah, there's not a lot, but there's some still out there. I'd like to see them all gone eventually, just in the name of safety. So we'll do that. I've got a pretty short list here today, so I would like a 5-minute executive session with the commission, Brett, Heather, and myself, for not less than 4 minutes.
Okay. I'll move to recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel regarding road and bridge for 5 minutes, to include the commission, Brett, our counselor, and HR, to resume here at, let's do 3:05 with a little bit of a break there also.
Say,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Not like that, not like that. They're not like that, really, they're not like that. They're pretty laid back. Well, just one else can bump in the middle of it. How else go? Oh, it's just gonna be high. It's gonna go up. It is, ain't it? I mean, even the bottom line, meaning the dollars out of your billfold. Don't care which column they have it printed in, that's the result. Took me a long time to dial in on what this lady was talking about. It was hard to follow, but I get it. And Gil's right there. The wind farm, they blew them over when they came in there and boy. I'll just say, only for our taxes go to skyrocket. So high. The valuation. So they're talking about the advancement of the Green New Deal, basically, is still going on. It's absolutely not very all to us. And she's right too, that they'll steamroll. Eminent domain, I've had them. Not go around to eminent domain. I'll say too, it's not insurmountable. None of this crap's insurmountable.
I haven't heard him say that.
Huh?
I haven't, talk about the mill that road, but I haven't heard the slightest inkling of a plan as to where the money's coming from for this bridge.
Oh, the one north of town,
Yeah,
coming from us.
well, you got that right.
What was it, 1.8 million?
Yeah. Which, that's without the road. They're gonna get a new bridge, we're gonna have to have a new road.
He
to go
talked
to.
about patching that road out.
Oh, I sit down, yeah, look, Queens, probably down south of town. The 40th and Queens, I don't know where that is over here. 40th, yeah, yeah,
South Mount?
yeah. 40th is.
The old bowling alley road,
Yeah,
they used to call it, or the old bypass. It goes back to when they built 59.
yeah,
But they not only did that, then they came east of St. Paul and came up Udall Road all the way to the Starr, or the Starr corner actually. And made a lot of change in that road. Have you been down Lyons Road lately? Lyons.
you
Going
banged
up
up,
towards Leanna,
yeah, Leon
Leanna Road.
Road, banged up with.
Only when I'm really in a hurry to take a shortcut to home. I can toss everything but my pickup around.
Yeah.
Go down that way.
Yeah.
Well, there's one spot they finally fixed on Udall, that for the first time in God knows how many years, you don't slap your head against the window over here when you go through that intersection. There's a place there just south of Big Creek Church that'll toss you around. It's really rough and drainage road. You're fighting to keep it on the road.
Mm-hmm.
There's no potholes, it's just,
It's all that.
it's depressions, long.
Yeah.
There's one, they finally fixed it. It's like this. On 200th Road, just south of Chanute, as you're heading towards Wilson County. And it had what I call the world's longest bathtub. One wheel would just kind of drop down like this, and you'd be like this for about 150 feet, and then it throws you.
I don't know what, I mean, they view me as being a dinosaur about all this stuff anyway, but at some place, there has to be some answer other than, well, it's just gonna come from us. I mean, money, for the last 2 years, money has just come out of thin air, and now we get the pleasure of paying back for it. Money doesn't come out of thin air. They got, and like this bridge they're fixing to replace, they're gonna be, what are you supposed, a year without it? I mean, there were 2 other bridges on that road that were done several years ago, back this way back south of Roadrunners, and I mean, I was driving that in trucks 2 and 3 times a day. You just went around, i.e. you didn't miss it after a while. You ain't gonna, Mike up and down, I told him one day, just dump that bridge, forget that bridge. Oh, man, we gotta have that bridge. You ain't gotta have that bridge. We've got Cherry Street now. We didn't used to have 169 highway with the Cherry Street entrance back there. We got we got a lot of roads too. We just got a lot of roads.
Yeah, they tore that bridge up and they made that main bypass for all of their
Yeah.
trucks.
But even so, it's just,
They had a weight limit on it, and then when they made the bypass, they raised the weight limit.
you don't need it. It's not necessary for me.
Hard to see anything down there, isn't it? Everything's the same color.
What is that color?
Yeah. All right, we're back in session and no action was taken.
Make a motion to allow Mike to place one of the truck driver operator positions with several of them retiring here recently, so.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 3-0.
Okay, thank you for that. And that's all I have on my list.
Mike, would you like to bring the commissioners up to speed on the 150th Road project? Tell them what you told me today.
So I got a text from Dave Philpott with Liberty late yesterday, and I didn't see it until this morning, but he had said that Cale McEwen, I believe is his name, with IEA was going to be in town today. He asked if Tanner and I could meet with him, which was a little short notice for that, but I did told him I'd try to head over there this morning and meet with him, and I called Cale and left him on, he didn't pick up, I left him on the voicemail, but when I got there, the guys working on the culvert said he just left like 5 minutes earlier, so. They wanted to discuss, which other project that we wanted to start on next, and I feel that, and I'll consult again with Tanner on this, but I don't want any other project started until the 150th Road box culvert project is 100% done. And I think you guys are probably on board with this as well. They do have the sides of the joints where the box fit together. The sides are poured, the floor is poured inside of it. The aprons going up to the box is poured. They're forming up the wing walls on it now, and one of the workers there today said that they hope to pour the wing walls next Wednesday for a good time. So, I hope so.
But they are there at least.
They're there working on it, yes. There's 2 of them there today, but they're there working on it. So that's where we're at on that project. It's pretty painful.
For a lot of people.
Yes.
So,
It's frustrating. That was taken out December the 7th. Still not done. It should have been a 30-day project.
I think maybe on our other projects, we need to have some kind of written agreement that, the road will only be closed for so long, or have some kind of penalty.
Sure. I know Cato
Making a-
knows that. Cato has some very severe penalties
Right.
for overrun on time.
And it's really put a burden on the citizens there in Earlton. It's very frustrating.
But I have got a lot of positive feedback from the culvert on 210 west of Chase. So I've got some pictures I need to email you.
I went and looked at it, Mike, it looks pretty good. The only thing I see, and that's just my opinion, but I thought maybe you should have put a little more guardrail on it, like that. Coming from the west, going east, there's a pretty good drop off right there. Maybe put some, I don't know what they call them, round things on the end,
Yeah.
ears, I don't know what you call them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That way they don't hit that thing,
We don't have any of those.
Anyway.
Well, actually, I think we do have a couple out there, but they've already been hit. And there's no straightening. But we were just trying to get it over.
Yeah. Okay, all right, well, something you might look at. Anyway, and I had a person call me up, is still one lane over there on 169. Let's say it'd be north of 47.
There's some construction.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess they're using Elk Road a lot, and I had a couple people called me up complaining about all the dust. That's what I was told. I haven't seen it. I haven't
So
seen it.
is it one down to one lane?
The time I was through there, it was
It was just-
two lane. I mean, they had road
Speed
cones
limit
down the
was-
center, but it was still open two-way traffic, but
He called me, this guy called me 2-3 days ago. Mike, they might even be down the road by now. I don't know. If you get a chance, you might have you or somebody go.
yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, they're putting those new passing lanes in there, so. I don't know where they're at on the part. I haven't been through there for a couple of weeks.
Got a ways to go yet.
Yeah.
So I gave you a copy of this, and I thought I would just update the commissioners. I just happened to notice when I was in the clerk's office yesterday that the Erie Record had a thing on the 4th Street project, which at the bottom tells us that the county, is pitching in $150,000. This is something that has been ongoing since before Nick was even here. So Mike was not even aware that, I guess, the project, they haven't let out for bids yet, but kind of what they're gonna do. It would be nice if we were included in those meetings. I tried to reach out to someone at the city of Erie, but I really don't have any contacts there. During the budget time, we had talked about taking this out of ARPA. So they need to basically contact Taylor and get an application into them. I don't know, they just kind of, I don't know, I didn't get anywhere with them. So I was wondering, Heather, if you could contact them and see if they would do that. Taylor, with the city of Chanute, said basically,
God.
someone,
Somebody was shooting at us.
someone, are we even on?
I don't know.
I didn't move anything.
The jail was 50 feet away. You got it.
Wake up the audience.
That's a generator.
So anyway, with the city of Chanute, they did put in an application, so I contacted Taylor again and said, hey, have they been approved? So we can pay them out of ARPA, and she said, well, she just has to make sure that the projects, I guess, are okay, but it's basically just them filling out an application and we approve it. So before this gets down the road too far, I would like to make sure that they contact them and that we use those funds for this project. So I think Heather can, yeah, probably,
Yeah, I know Jamie at the office. It's the office.
maybe she didn't understand, and then she's like, well, we've already got funds from this or that, but this is our part of the funds. So I don't see any problem, because it's just like the project that the city of Chanute did. So anyway, that's kind of information that actually is maybe gonna happen, sounds like. So I think the first time they let out for bids, it was way over what they had projected, so it's just taken a while. So if we want to talk about, I don't know, Mike, since you're here, because now we're just down to unfinished business. So the city of Chanute. So my memory serves us during budget, we also put the city of Chanute project in the ARPA. They have filled out the information. Taylor said we're fine to write them a check. She just needs a copy of it. So I don't know if you needed anything else, Heather.
I just need a motion to pay out of that fund specifically. I think we may have done it already, but all I found was conversation of agreement to do it, but not a motion.
Well, and this is a different price, actually. I think it was about
25 with it.
50, I thought it was more like 50.
I don't think this had lights. When they pulled the lights, that reduced.
That's probably it then.
I had down City of Chanute, 157,500.
I think that the reduction in lights.
Well, originally they didn't have lights, so they've
I
never.
think they had it in their idea.
Okay, so it's nice that it's less. So, okay, if someone wants to make that motion to pay that out of ARPA for the 137, I'll make a motion to approve payment to the City of Chanute for 137,798.25 for the 21st and Plummer project to be paid out of the ARPA funds.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Now, there's really a lot of people happy that both those projects are completed on that
Yes.
southwestern portion of the road.
Very much.
They can access it without having to go all the way to the same thing, come back around.
Nice improvement.
So one other thing that had to do with road and bridge, I guess, I pulled accounts payable. So there was an invoice with road and bridge for Heckert for $13,470.71. So I know we made a motion back in May the 2nd to take this project of about $344,000. The motion to be paid out of road and bridge budget at a price of $122.90. So I've had second thoughts since that, always before. So this basically is our chip and seal for the year. Always before, we've taken it out of the special highway fund, which is 106. So it's my understanding that every year we get money from KDOT, and that money then is transferred into that account, and it is for the highway fund. So I don't know that much about that. All I know is every year that money's put in there, and every year then we only take out what we use for chip and seal. Is that right, Mike, since you've been doing this?
We also use the chip and seal for federal fund change program, and we get money from that.
And I think that's put in this account also. So in this fund, then last year and some of this year, we put in the money that we got from KDOT on the 169 tour, which was $287,000. Then Monarch also gave us $47,000 on the detour. The money has not been transferred in there for 22 yet, but I did talk to the auditor, and he visited with Sydney, and there will be another $115,000 put in there. So that's the actual money that we got from the state. It just hasn't been transferred. It's gonna be part of the end of the year transfers. So I don't understand, I guess, why we would want to take this out of his budget, because it's out of the ordinary. It is going to be hard to track if the state comes back and says what invoices were paid with these funds. If we put those funds into his budget, wouldn't it be easier to pay invoices out of that special account like we have?
Well, I think you're gonna have you be able to use those funds with the Grady Road overlay. There'll be cost in that we haven't assigned for, that those funds could pretty much pay for that part of the project. Cause you're gonna look at what, 400, 500,000 just for the overlay of Grady Road.
Well, we have a special bridge account also, 102.
I'm just talking about the overlay, it's gonna be that, the bridge is gonna be.
That's
So-
two separate.
Two projects.
Right,
that-
okay.
Right, the overlay and the bridge project are two separate projects. Even though it's the same road, it's two separate projects. the overlay can't be tied to the bridge
Sure.
project because we're getting the state funds for
So-
the bridge project.
Sorry, I have here what we estimated that to be, or what our quote was. Grady overlay is 281. The bridge project, ours is 414. So the special bridge will cover the Grady Bridge, right?
That's typically what we, pay for the bridge project out of.
But, and the overlay is 281. So we're basically gonna have, we have $356,000 in that account. So we'll have another, if we just did the overlay, Grady overlay out of this, 281, so we're gonna have about $70,000. We also have a special machinery fund. It's just so out of the ordinary that over close to $400,000 that we're gonna have in his budget. Correct?
Carried over 300 at the end of 22 on 13th month, 330,000. That was carried over from the previous year. But, and we're way under,
So I guess.
we're way under
why don't we-
expenditures because we're of payroll for that, for this next year's budget.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We're way under his budget numbers because of the reduction in staff
Right.
for this year.
I guess just looking at comparing year to year, all of a sudden we're gonna have this huge amount of an expense in there compared to previous years. If we use this 106 and put the money through there, it doesn't have this, all of a sudden, this huge expense. I don't know how you take that 300,000 out of his,
Well,
that's not included in his
I
budget.
think we're getting more bang for our buck for the fixing the road and what using the overlay of fixing all the ruts and everything. I think we're getting more bang than chip and seal.
If we chip and
Oh,
seal
yeah.
over all those miles, that's gonna be quite a few miles.
I think we're just,
But I think we're only allowed to use what was budgeted. We'll have to have a special meeting at the end of the year to allow that $300,000 to be used, correct?
well, if you're staying, if we're under budget in his department and this is a road and bridge project, I think we're going to be fine.
I think so.
You think we're gonna be $300,000 under budget?
We're 600 the previous year.
If we don't get some more people hired, we'll
Yeah, I mean, at least by the 13th month. You figure average 30,000 per person, and we're down 7. You're gonna get in pretty close, and that's not counting benefits and everything else.
But we took 120,000 out of his budget. You decreased his budget by 120,000.
Still didn't spend
Well, I'm just saying we
previous
don't,
years. I mean,
so
you're
we don't
still
have what
short
we did.
hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're budgeting for that we haven't spent in there.
But also, another thing you need to consider is it's more than just wages.
Oh, no, I know, yeah.
Fuel and wear and tear on equipment, repairs,
There's less.
tires.
Well, you know,
We've got equipment that's set in idle right now because we let people put the seats in, so.
okay, down 2 graders. I talked to Mike about it, if we should be not, if we don't have operators rotating in the grader that's not being used, use it. Get the life out of it, so we're not sitting for a month at a time, and then having to just get, so we're spreading the wealth on where.
We have been doing that, some of it really not even by choice, because like right now, we've got, a unit that's got an issue with this rear differential, which is covered under warranty, and it's gonna be going into the Foley shop, tomorrow. We're gonna haul it there tomorrow. And it'll be a fairly major repair.
And he's only 10% under his budget as of the end of June, or May, excuse me.
On a $2.5 million budget, 10% under, there's $250,000 right there. And that's in the first 6 months of the year,
Right.
so.
But
I think we have more expenses in the summer.
bills are,
Oh, I know they're gonna come through, they're gonna put a ding in it, but I'm just saying, if we get to that point, we transfer it to a year, or transfer over to cover his budget. Use that money.
Okay. It's just, we're doing things differently than we had before. And I don't, I guess, agree with,
I think it's gonna come out the same thing, we just,
well, we have to keep an eye on it then. To make sure, at the end, it all comes out.
Yeah,
We don't even know if grading bridge is gonna be done by the end of the year. But now we're operating on hope. Well, I think we do all the time.
Good faith.
you have to
Just nothing new.
hope and change, everybody's changed, they're putting the kids.
Well, I think we need to keep a close eye on Heckert, because they always give us these $13,000 bills just to make sure that we come to that, and then I think there might be some extra,
Right, we
so I just don't wanna lose track of it.
were very close to getting to the end of what all needed the rest filled in, and I had them go ahead and finish, which put us over 72 tons over the 2,700 sometimes that we approved. I thought it was important to go ahead and finish the project.
I think if
It's
we,
hard to
I think if
estimate.
we didn't, then we'd been in trouble. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this detour is going to be,
Those roads
roads are going to get punished.
Yes, they are. They certainly are.
Those unofficial detours are costing the county and the citizens lots of money.
Well, the only reason that we can pay for this is because of what we got from the 169 detour. Well, that, we're never ahead then.
Speaking of.
We were able to do it, so.
Detours, I mentioned a while back, Brett, and I apologize, I should have spoke to you before the meeting, but I really would like to get with you and maybe Greg and with the commission's approval and rewrite the no through truck language so that these things can be enforced.
Right.
Because that's what tears these unofficial detours up. I know the North Plummer thing was kind of a unique situation, and the commission allowed them to use that road, and I agree with your decision on that, but, some of these others, they're just, even out there, I was with Heckert, were involved marking the bad areas out that needed filled, and I could not believe the truck traffic that was going down that road that should not have been, and also even on Queens Road. I was out there the other day, somebody lost some hay bales on it, and we had to call the guy out and get it off the road, and there was a lot of truck traffic, heavy truck traffic on that road that should not have been on there. And the only way we can stop that is to get a resolution passed that has some teeth that allows our law enforcement to write to it.
You're still using that for the feedlot down there, Mark?
Well, it was another project, actually. There was some of the contaminated soil that was being removed from this old gas station up here. They were hauling it and spreading it on a field down there, on 30th Road West, east of Queens, which is legal for them to do. I checked with KDHE to make sure that it was all on the up and up, and it was. But I saw them coming down the road, and I just followed one until I got to the site, and I called Doug Cole with KDHE to make sure that this was all legit, and it is legal for them to do. Depends on what's in the soil. You know, obviously, back in the day when they put lead in the gasoline, if the soil tested positive for lead, they would not have been able to do that. But in this situation, there was some lead in it, and it was just patrolling, and they can dump it out there, spread it, they work it. I don't know the exact procedure, but they work it every 6 months or something like that. And eventually, it just dissipates and put it back to grass and it's good. If we could get that before the projects get involved, that would help our roads a lot.
Did we write a special resolution for that period? I thought we had done some of that.
I remember Greg, and I need to get with Greg, I remember him talking about it the last, on the 169 project, and he said it was just written in such a manner that it's really tough to enforce.
What I'll do, Mike, I'll just include both of you on an email, and we'll get exactly what Greg's concerns were on that. And we'll address those in language and also run it by the county attorney's office, as he might be the one prosecuting that, and make sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone understands it clearly.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
No problem.
You can see what happened to North Plummer, and even though we're trying to get ahead a little bit on this, it's going to be hard on it, because that's going to be a very lengthy project. I don't believe that project will be completed in one construction season. I hope I'm wrong.
Time will tell. Anything else? No? Okay.
Okay.
Our county engineer has a question.
Well, could I add a topic to your discussion that relates to this gentleman here?
Okay.
I was contacted this week by a landowner in the county who lives along a very light traffic road, like very few traffic per day. And he was asking me, well, what is the right of way, or is the right of way, or road and bridge, are they getting over in my yard, or are they not getting in my yard? This type of discussion. And I said, well, I'll look up and see what I can find. Well, this happens to be one of those roads that exists that is not recorded in the books that I have. And there's a bunch of them around the county like that. And this is a stretch of road that nobody ought to be on except your locals, because it runs 1 mile. It runs from here, 1 mile to the west, dead ends. You can't go any further east, you can't go any further west, you're just right here, going through the center of the section. And I know mapping department shows it as having a 40-foot right-of-way. Well, this stretch of road is not as straight as a string between 2 points. That it very clearly not. Never was. Many years ago, there was a schoolhouse at the east end of that road, and that's probably why that road is there. If you went another half mile north, you drop off a bluff. and that was not a good way to get around. It dropped you down into the river bottom, and then you came back south a half mile to get to the school. This is probably one where some definition you may need some counsel on this as to how do you address issues like this with a landowner on a route for which there's no clear definition of where it is other than this is where it exists. And it comes down here and it swings out around this barn, and then it comes back over here and you drop down. You just miss this house as you drop down.
But the county's always maintained it.
But the county has obviously been maintaining it forever.
No maintenance.
And when something is very lightly used, it becomes more yours rather than the whole world's, I guess is what I'm looking at here. So I think road and bridge crew over time will get more complaints just because you're disturbing the peace in my neighborhood by keeping it up to where there's more traffic. But at the same time, nobody wants to pay for a half mile or more of private driveway if you can keep it as a county road. But yet it's easy to not be happy with the maintenance because you really don't want anybody going by in the first place. So I'll get with you on that later, but this just came up in the last few days. But you might give that some serious thought because this isn't the only road in the county with that situation. But if you went in and said, oh, we really need to improve this for some reason, it's really awkward. Or like a situation halfway between here and Chanute that I remember, I got a call from the power company one day wanting to know where's the edges of the county's right of way because we want to make sure that the new power line we're running through here, or changing it, was within the right of way. Well, it was another one of those where, guess what? It doesn't show up at all, but obviously it's there. So whatever they did and they went on. But it is something that sooner or later probably needs to be formalized a little better on roads. Because as it is, we just kind of fly by the seat of the pants on a case-by-case basis. So just throwing that out there, don't need any decisions, no action.
So they don't. They probably wouldn't like if we came in and just closed the road.
I would
Can we
say
close a road that doesn't exist?
No, it exists. There's no boundaries to the road.
that's it.
No boundaries to it. It's there and
It's there.
There's no boundaries.
And there's probably some statutory thing that says, well, you if you're doing this, you can maintain it at whatever level of width is considered a minimum. Okay, well that minimum number has changed down through the years. Usually you would go back to the year it was established, but if you don't know when it was established, because it was probably 18
Or
something.
the use. I mean, you look at a little 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway, there's so much more right of way included in that.
That's right. We've got a lot of county roads out here that have a 40-foot right, officially 40-foot right of way. It may be 60 feet between the fences, but officially, if you go out there and try to redo a box culvert or something, you got an awfully tight fit to do that. So I just thought I'd throw that into the discussion for you and leave it there for the day.
All right, something new to learn about.
We have a lot of roads in the county that probably shouldn't be county roads, in my opinion.
All right.
So, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
All All right, I guess that answered my questions on accounts payable. At this point, I'll allow those funds to continue to be taken out of road and bridge, and we'll just keep an eye on it to see how the projects kind of iron out for the year. So I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable for $131,512.24. Any more discussion? All those,
That was for what we decided last week.
okay? We just seconded it.
Second.
All those in
Yeah.
favor? Okay, wait,
No. Sorry.
No more discussion.
are you,
I sorry.
are
You're
you
right.
taking your second off
Yeah.
table? Sorry, can you second my motion?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried 2-1. I'm gonna sign that. I think that takes care of the consent agenda then, everything that we had originally listed there. So one other thing before I forget, because we have this check for the city of Chanute, there was another request. I just got contacted. Well, I actually asked for an update on the Erie Childcare grant that we had committed to, and they just got word Friday that they were approved. So Kelly was asking for a check. They're hoping to break ground in July, which will be here soon. We decided to take those funds out of the pilot fund, $125,000. She thought that she would have the actual approval letter by next week. I was wondering if we wanted to approve these two checks to be paid, then in a separate voucher. Kat said that she could do that so that these two can get their checks. This project for the city of Chanute is already done. I feel like if we could get a check out, and I also don't want to hamper anything with the child care center. If we could also then approve that and then get those paid, and then we can actually approve the voucher list at our next meeting.
Problem, I mean, we have nothing indicating.
Well,
Actually,
The motion would be until we get the letter, then we could proceed with that, have that part of the motion.
In relation to the date here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I want physical proof that that's coming in. That'd be my only reservation.
See what kind of thing
that
there.
it's coming. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
definitely, I think we should have the acceptance letter before we ever give any funds out.
That would be my
Sorry.
own thing, and we'll have a meeting, the second week of July?
11.
You gotta
Yeah.
see them.
That would be my only. Where we got a bill from, I mean, their invoices, it shows it was approved of what we owe them, so.
I mean, they probably can proceed without our funds. Assuming we'll be getting the grant funds.
I'm still committed. I think the childcare department in Southeast Kansas or in our area, but I'd rather have the letter of acceptance.
So is a motion to issue funds upon acceptance of the confirmation letter?
I didn't make a motion yet.
Yeah.
I was just asking about that, but
Yep.
then he doesn't feel comfortable with that.
I'd rather have that state of Kansas grant one approved, but they know their funds are coming to them. So.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, I've not seen
Okay.
approval. Have you seen approval? I have not seen
No.
approval.
So
No,
grant
that's what
award
they
letter.
were-
You're looking for the grant award letter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I was saying not to issue the funds until then.
Well, we could, I mean, if it hasn't came right now, we probably have till July 11th, or we can issue the check at that time.
Okay, we'll just put that on unfinished business
Yeah.
then. But wanting them to know that, I mean, we do have the funds and
Yeah, I
we'll
mean,
issue those. So the city of Chanute, we'll just put on our next voucher
we
list.
could go ahead and do
See,
this.
Chanute, I can pay, well, so the AP report you just did, we'll print those, and then we do a new batch.
Okay.
And then we'll do that check, and we'll print it, it'll probably be Thursday, rather than waiting 2 weeks. But you won't have
We got an
the
invoice.
report, you'll sign the report at the next meeting.
Okay,
We can proceed with that one.
So we need a
Okay.
motion to issue that check
Yeah.
for the city of Chanute.
Mhm.
well, what was our motion? We
Uh,
made one motion.
Did we?
Yeah. For 137,798.25.
yeah, that was,
Okay.
all the signs, yeah. that was-
Yeah,
So we
I
got
brought that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good,
Okay,
yeah, we're good.
I didn't put a time on it, but.
I do have one thing, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Sure.
So, there seems to be a misunderstanding on the county policy when it comes to holiday pay. And so since we're in the live, it's easier maybe if there's any employees that listen in. I wanna make sure I'm under the same understanding as the policy you guys approved. The coffee shop talk is that one department head is, blaming me solely for not allowing, payment. So the employees want to work and not use comp or vacation and be off on July 3rd and still get holiday pay. That goes against the policy you guys passed. They could use vacation or comp time with a minimum of 6 hours. They could even blend the two. They could do 3 hours comp, 3 hours vacation. They could do 6 vacation, 6 comp. They cannot use sick time. But it has to be minimum 6 hours used to receive the holiday pay. I want to make sure, maybe you guys, I'm hoping for your backing on this and understanding that this is not something I'm trying to throw weight behind. This is strictly me going off of the policy that the commission set.
It's been that way for a long time.
Okay, thank you for that. I just wanted that clarification. I just wanted that clarification that that's not me saying, no, I don't have that authority. We operate solely off of the policy that you guys have created and approved.
So our policy is,
You take the days before or after.
You don't get
you don't get
paid.
paid,
You don't get paid.
to make sure.
So,
But they had
wait
the
a minute,
option.
if they are allowed to use a vacation day.
Right.
Yes, and then they get their pay.
And if you have any other questions about that, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I'm hope I'm not the person you're talking about, but, that they are allowed to use a vacation day before
Right.
or after.
At least 6 hours. So they don't even have to use a full 8, at least 6
Okay.
hours.
Yeah.
Of comp and vacation. They just can't opt, I don't wanna be paid, I'm not coming into work. They won't get the 4th pay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
They can't opt to not
Most of
say,
that was put in for
It
the
was-
sheriffs.
and we didn't change that in this
Cover
policy.
Yeah.
I have that policy.
This is old, we didn't even touch this when we approved the latest policy, that was already in there.
Right. That's a long-standing policy.
Mhm.
Correct.
I mean, if you guys wanted to make changes, that's up to you guys, I'm just not touching, I'm just saying, those are the rules that we have in place right now.
Okay, talking about the policy manual. So I have noticed when we approve vacation time, that not everyone's using the same form. So there's a form in the back of the policy for leave request. et cetera, all the different ones. The ones that we receive, I'd have to look at them again. Doesn't seem to be the same that's in the actual handbook, so I think it's changing over time. So there has been question, the one that's actually in the policy only has a supervisor's signature. Now the new form that's wanting to be used also has HR's signature. So I guess maybe there's needs to be some clarification as to what that signature means on the form. I guess I didn't know that you could change the form without our approval. The old form just has a supervisor's signature, and now we're getting ones that have, the two that we got in there aren't the same form. So I guess I would like clarification on that. If you read the policy, leave requests only has to be approved by department head. Is that correct?
I'm not. The signature's on there not to be approving of anything. It's on there as recognition for the employee that we've received it.
Okay.
Because they also get a copy of it, and the department head, if they so choose, some of them do, and I do, and I've got payroll right behind me. I keep my own copies of my employees in my cabinet for their leaves. And some department heads do this as well. So it's recognition that we've received it, and you as an employee know we've received it.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the same as a supervisor's signature that actually approves it.
We're not approving anything.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it's
there's
your
no,
recognition that you got it and it's going to be paid out as vacation or
Right.
time or whatever. Okay.
so I think with those changes, they need to be put in the policy manual, so we're using the same forms.
I think they are, I just don't think you've got it updated.
This is the one that you gave me.
I don't think you
With-
got the copy. I would assume. I don't know.
Okay,
If you just didn't get the updated form, I would gather.
but when did, so are forms able to be updated without our approval?
I don't think I think the it used to say HR resources for some reason was the signature. I don't think it's ever changed besides the wording in itself. I
This one
don't.
just says a supervisor.
I don't know.
It makes sense to have HR sign it saying, we received this. But just with the policy, the supervisor is the one that approves the time off. I just wanted to make that clarification because we are receiving different forms. So it would be nice for everyone to use the same form.
I would ditto that,
Okay,
Commissioner Clausen. I would
So-
appreciate everyone to use the same form. That doesn't happen. Sometimes
Right.
we get emails. Sometimes we get no forms at all. I get no help with this outside of my own department. We can only request it. I've asked.
so there should only be one form. There shouldn't be, why is there more than one form?
So many generated before. Jim created one. Whoever was before Jim had one. Some people are still operating off the old policy and forget we have the new. I can't force anything upon anybody.
Well, if it's part of the policy, you can.
No, I can't. They're your departments. You just
Well,
said you
but-
don't want me approving anything. I can't force anything on anybody. It's a
But
double-edged
if
sword is what
but
you're
if
talking
we
about right now.
approve the form and it becomes part of the policy manual, then our department heads have to use
Do
that
I have
form.
rights to write someone up if they don't submit the proper form after requesting the proper form 3 or 4 times? I don't think I do, no.
Report to the commissioners if they're not doing
Yeah.
it, the commissioners would then take
But
whatever action.
we have only approved the form that's in the manual. Have we not?
But that goes back to some departments will operate our own way, don't want to conform to what we give them.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm not
I mean,
saying, by me saying, can I write them up, I'm being sarcastic. I don't wanna write up anybody, but I'm saying you're asking me to headhunt individuals who use a certain piece of paper. I don't have that authority to do that.
But
Especially your departments and especially any other elected official, absolutely not, I can't. So if
But
they're
I
not
think the
submitting it,
confusion is the form that has been approved isn't being used.
Well,
Is it,
that's
so we don't have
the-
any authority either because the form that's been approved is the one that's in here. If it needs to be changed, then it
Well,
needs to
you need
become
to
part
make
of the
those department
policy.
heads aware that this will be done in this way.
Send each a letter with a copy of that form, literally. I know that sounds juvenile and basic, but send each a letter with that form, say this is a form that commissioners are requesting to use for, for leave or for whatever
And we
function.
have done that. We have done that, and I don't.
You've come before
No.
us and given us that
No,
form.
the
so
only
that we
thing you
have-
could say is if it doesn't come on this form, they will not get paid for those time off.
But when have you approved the change in the forms? When did that
They
happen?
approve the policy.
No,
but
I don't, it's not part of this. There is no form change in
How
this.
about Commissioner Clausen, you create a form and we'll use your form.
Well, you've
If
already
you'll
created a
just put
form.
payroll and HR on the top, I'll be happy to use whatever form you'd like. But again, if that form's not used, then you're gonna have to go
Okay.
and tell everybody
But
to
I'm
use
just
it.
saying, the only authority I have right now is to use a form that's been approved.
I didn't realize, I'm blown away by this conversation right now. So I'm gonna excuse myself from any other conversation about this topic. Because I think you are literally in mouse tunnels right now. You obviously don't think you understand how this works at all, respectfully.
Well, so,
We are wasting a lot of time over a form that I have no authority to force anybody to use.
They should be using our policy.
right.
Which it's my understanding that everyone has been using that. I will say on our particular form, I added a line to that because many times our guys, or my guys, they may take off at noon for a doctor's appointment, they may take off at 10 o'clock and come back at noon for a doctor's appointment. And I put that line on there, if you're gonna be leaving, what time you're gonna be leaving, what time you're gonna be returning to work. And really, that's the only difference that I know of on that form that's been approved by the commission. And if there has been a new form that you want us to use, I don't believe the commission has approved a new form, to my knowledge.
So
Yeah,
you've added extra things to your form to accommodate your department.
Years ago. Years
You
ago.
accommodated. So that's not been,
It's not
I have to stand up.
accommodating. I'm
That
just
hasn't
asking-
been that's not in the book. So ask Mike, why is he
So
submitting a form
I
that you
didn't
have
know
not
about
approved?
this. I didn't know about this till now, and I see the differences in the forms. So what I'm saying is I want to correct things. I want the commission to approve one form. Every department's going to use that. If you want a difference in your department, then that's going to be on your side. It's not going to be what's submitted to HR. Although
Well, but the data he's talking about adding would need to be submitted. to
so maybe I just want everyone to be using the same form.
And I agree with that.
But you,
And I can't imagine my department being the only one that has people that take off a few hours and then come back to
So-
work, or maybe take off at noon. I
So,
didn't,
Okay, maybe we'll talk about this Thursday, if we have a work session
Yeah.
with all the department heads. I just want everyone, this is what's approved, this is the authority that we have as commissioners.
may I ask
So-
what the point is? To me, the point of the form is to show nothing but transparency and accuracy to the employee on what hours they're taking. And that the department head or the commission, if necessary, is approving said hours. If the document is doing that and it is cohesive to the roles of the department and those employees, I just don't understand where we're getting at. What is it? I just don't understand.
So does this not mean
What are you
anything?
saying?
Are these just examples in the employee handbook?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
that's my question. I just want you guys to have the authority to say, this is what the commission wants you to fill out. This is the information we need.
Things are
But-
misconstrued. I have zero authority. I have zero authority of the policy, of the forms, of anybody outside of my own departments. You understand that, right, Paul? Nick, do you
Oh, yeah,
understand that?
I just
I
think, I think
don't
there should
have
be in
that.
some way, as time for you and your department, you might need a line to keep and know when somebody's coming back on and off. And you're letting her know that this is the time frame they are. I don't know about adding to her, adding a line or putting a line down the bottom, say check in, check out times, this goes back to, and I get the documenting the time. I really do.
Yes.
I mean, that was
And I do too, and that's why that line was
So-
added there.
Okay, let's talk.
I guess my point to the question of he come up to the podium to say I added time, but you're getting on to me singularly wanting to know why there's an extra line for an HR signature. Do you see, like you're
reason-
singling me out?
I think the
Commissioner
signature
Clausen,
line
like, I
was
don't
that.
understand
This is your
what you're
department,
doing.
that's why I'm not trying to single you out, I just wanna know.
But you're accusing me of the same thing he come up to the podium to confess.
Well,
And I'm getting in the ringer for this. Like, what is happening?
I just,
I don't think anybody's been put through the ringer here.
So,
I'm just wanted to state the fact of why I added the line on there, because this happens frequently in my department, where somebody leaves early or leaves in the middle of the day and comes back. You need to know when they're leaving and when they're coming back. There's no line on there for that.
okay, well,
And I think this is pretty,
maybe that's something we need to
Straightforward.
have for every department.
and
well, and you run into a problem when you're out of the grader sheds. I mean, your actual true grader, where the hell are they, other than miking in and saying they're back at work? You know, those guys can't really, if they leave for a doctor appointment, can't come back, and they have to mic in so that Tina and them can check them in.
right.
Okay, Mike,
Call.
aside from the one line you added, is the current form sufficient?
Yes.
So if that form were revised
Wait,
and.
current,
That's the only
current,
thing
what do you
that-
mean by current?
I mean, the one you're referring to, that's in the book.
I don't know if anyone's using
No.
this.
Well, but
But-
we gotta start with something. So we're gonna start with that. And so that form, I mean, if the current form you're using was modified to one additional line and that form was formally adopted by the commission, there would be no issue with you using it.
But that this should be submitted into the employee
Well,
handbook.
we'll get there.
Okay,
So,
so maybe we
So-
need to have a discussion. I don't know, I
I
mean,
mean,
I just want
Yeah.
clarity and everyone using the same form. That's why we have, but if we need to modify it for different departments, then we
Then
need to
you'd
have,
have
that needs to be
10
approved.
different policy
right,
books.
that's what I'm saying, if
You'd have 10 different,
right.
So
And if
let's
you get
bounce on-
input from everybody and you make adjustments to one particular form, then the commission adopts that form, and that's what you use going forward. It seems like there's confusion on what exactly is the quote-unquote standard form.
Right, obviously, it's not this one. It may be in a different form. I'm just trying to help you, Heather, to have clarity. Because there seems to be some confusion, and
Well,
maybe what we
I
have in
think-
here
I think
isn't sufficient.
what I've heard and what I know probably what you're getting at is there's a belief that she's approving the time off.
Yeah.
There was just no clarification.
That's
So-
what's not happening, and I don't believe that. I think it was
Okay,
that she's the one signing off. Well, I can have it. It's a power thing within that. It's like, no, this is. I see it's documentation that payroll got the form and back to the patient or back to the.
And it's
Employee.
for the employee too, so they can come back and say,
Hey,
why is my check short? Like, I had 6 hours, why didn't you give this to me? See, you signed it, you received it. You know, it's protection for the employee as well, it's not just for us.
I think it was explained. I think that's probably where the confusion is. So it looks,
I've just
it
heard
appears,
some of, and I'm not. I just said I don't want to have to submit that form. Well, that form's in the policy book.
yes, it is. Well,
I mean,
This form is.
the basic form is in that policy book, and I didn't
no,
want
I
to use their.
totally agree that your signature, HR signature on there, as far as clarification, it just needs, I think it just needs to be explained. So we can maybe talk Thursday to see, do other departments have something else they add to their form. We need one form, don't you think? We need one form, it needs to be approved, it needs to be in the employee handbook. And it's just another part, again, that needs to be reviewed,
You can
because
do
through
that.
the years.
Use that one form, say, sheriff's department. If they have a line that they use internally, road and bridge, they have a line or something, just small lines that they're showing their time in and out, or if they have some different way of calculating. And it is almost impossible to have a policy that hits every department in the.
Sure.
I mean, there's so many little idiosyncrasies to each department. They have specialized parts and
But you will have employees from one department talking to another. If you have a uniform form, then there's less of a chance of there being a misunderstanding.
I don't think it's gonna be that hard to put together a form that's gonna fit every department. I don't see this being that difficult.
But I think we need to present a new form that has HR signature on there, saying that you,
for return or receipt, or you're saying receipt of time used.
You're acknowledging receipt of the information and you've documented it into the system. That's all you're doing.
I don't think that the department heads should generate this form. I think we obviously know, because we pay all departments, and Cindy is more than capable to generate a form, and we start with that one.
Yeah.
I don't want 10 other forms coming at us.
Yeah. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying you start with a basic form.
Yeah.
And you guys Cindy put that together and you send it out to department heads. And then Mike might add the paragraph he needs, and then Sheriff Taylor might add a paragraph he needs. Then you just basically merge that into one form, and the department head should know that some things may apply to them, may not. But that way you have a form that's been designed by a person that enters that data into the system. That form contains everything you need. Then it's also going to contain the ability to include data from those other departments. But that way everybody's on the same form. You guys are receiving the same thing from everybody, and that should solve the problem.
we submit it into the employee handbook, and that's what.
I think there's just the thing that was pointed at Heather, and I've heard it, that why is she approving the time off?
Yeah.
She's not approving time off. You're
It's
the
just
department head.
misunderstanding.
You need to put a disclaimer in there, note.
Again, it's a change, and change is
Right.
hard for some
Yeah.
people that have been here for years.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted that clarification, because it didn't seem to be getting any better. I mean, we're receiving different forms, and I wanna have, where we have one, everyone has an understanding of what is on that form, to make it easier. So,
I agree.
if you wanna present something Thursday, we can talk about.
That's
That's pretty quick.
4 hours away.
You already have yours, don't you? I mean, we can start with that? Or do you?
I mean, I'm good. Like I'm good at what we do. My staff is good at what we do, but we need more time than 24 hours. I've got other stuff on my agenda already, and so does my staff. That's not fair. I mean, I've been asking the commission in executive session, updating you guys on the forms that are not correct, and those department heads, we don't receive these forms for months. I don't understand what 24 hours or 2 week wait is going to until the next meeting.
So you got some departments not turning in
We're better. I've got one, we received emails,
okay.
but it was sufficient. At least we have something in writing. So we're still working on it. I would just request from the commission more time. I don't.
Well, if it's on an email like that, you just get a PDF that they can fill out, zip you over a signed file. They can, save the form back and forth, they just have a fill in an autofill box, and this is the time off, and the department, they don't have to transfer that piece of paper back and forth either.
That could be difficult for like my guys in remote locations, because you
Well,
need.
no, your office girls will be taking care of
Say
that.
we need
No, your
we have
office.
to have a signature on there for the employees and the department head.
And I'm not saying the guy that, no, I'm just saying that form coming, something easy, that she's not getting the email that's not following the.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, you have the form. So we could submit that to the department heads and say, is there anything about this form? The commission wants to approve this new form and put it in the employee handbook. Does your department have any additions, corrections, or deletions? Get their input, and then we actually submit a new form. And everyone's had their input. I mean, we start with what you have. So.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what Heather has either. What I would like to see added to it is if somebody is gonna work a partial day, what time.
Right.
That's what I'm saying,
No, I
right? When you
think
get the
that's
form,
right.
write that in.
I will be
Yep.
happy to discuss.
So there may be other things with other departments that have the same thing that would be easy to add to it, and it would suffice every department. We just want to be uniform. We want to have.
This is for the county's protection to have that line in there,
Okay.
and I can
Yeah.
give you examples.
And again, nobody's arguing that, Mike, just when you get the form, write in what you think it needs to say, and
Yeah.
go from there.
We're not that far off
No.
at all.
So.
This isn't rocket science.
Well, no, I think that ultimately the things I hear is, why is Heather signing off on that form?
Yeah.
And that's unfair to Heather. That is unfair, because she's, I said, there's nothing saying, I said, this is the form payroll wants in HR. This is their department to come up with an idea, and then if they add a line or something within their department to help that certification that they got it and the employee's protected with a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Everybody's open and clear. We have a good employee files, which we're lacking.
We're getting better.
Well, I mean, we're getting a lot better from what we had.
Okay, that's, I think, just clarification, so, thank you. It was not that one person, it was going by the policies, I want to make your job easier and not have all of this. So,
We need to make it clear, this is what's
this
going
is,
to happen.
this is the form, this is
Right.
what we expect. So I think it just, again, change is hard for people that have been here and done things a certain way many years, and there's no explanation, I guess, but we'll get through it. So I have no idea what that was on the agenda, but, okay. Did you have anything else, Heather?
No. Oh, man.
I don't think we need executive session on the litigation. We haven't had anything new.
Go here, yeah, murder tonight, farmer's market.
You cooking?
We'll listen now.
You cooking?
No,
No.
He just eating.
I'm just gonna eat.
All right. Oh, dear. I'm not doing that one. So we're down to the moratorium on solar farm.
Yes.
Brett has been working on this.
And actually, I took it a step farther than the solar farm. I made it just a blanket moratorium on commercial renewable energy projects, which would include any future wind development, also any solar. And I also added in the let's see, was it the second paragraph? I'd also added provisions in regard to wires and lines to be used to transmit renewable energy, because we're seeing more of the line infrastructure solicitations from property owners, and in some ways, those are every bit as cumbersome as a physical structure. But what I did, I mean, the language from your wind farm moratorium from 2019 was I thought very clear to the point, so I employed a lot of that in here. But basically, again, just expanding the scope to commercial renewable energy projects, period. That way you're not infringing. If a citizen wants to put solar panels on the roof of their home, they can do that. But we are preventing any commercial entities from coming in. And one thing we probably do want to do with this is make sure that at least once a year we discuss solar or wind energy use, and we've satisfied that criteria somewhat today with this Crossland-Macha's presentation. But we should put it on the agenda to review every year, because the moratorium is a year in length. And my concern would be if we don't renew it and don't discuss and renew it within a calendar year, then one of those companies could argue that that's lapsed. So I think we just need to keep it on the calendar, just on a yearly basis. We can always choose to not include it anymore, but I think under the circumstances, making it broad like we've done here, and making sure that we follow up on our end of the argument or end of our obligations in regard to the moratorium, and keep it in place.
So we put a moratorium in 19, but we also did a resolution. What year did we do that?
Last year.
Yeah, just last year.
Last.
Wind farms. Have you looked at that?
I did, that was 22E, I think. Resolution 22E, yeah.
That sounds right.
Okay.
I just went ahead and just, I just included wind, I included wind in with this, that way you can say renewable. And that way also, that, in my opinion, kind of allowed me to bring in the transmission lines that so many people are getting solicited for now.
So as we put that in as a resolution, though, it doesn't have a time lapse on it, does it? I mean, compared to a moratorium, the resolution was to stand.
It's basically would just be doubling.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. We just didn't include solar, so.
No, it was,
Yeah.
it was wind.
Yeah. Or the transmission,
Or it didn't include
Right.
transmission lines.
So this would be in addition to that,
right.
but this would be a yearly,
I would renew it every year.
okay.
That way, and also that it kind of discourages the developers from going around asking, and if a property owner calls me, like say somebody from Erie calls me and says, well, I got called from this solar power company, they want to pay me $10,000 for the line across my property. I'm saying, no, it's not legitimate. If there's a moratorium, they're not going to be granted that. So
Basically, they have to come to the commission and get approval for any kind of renewal.
right, well, for any kind of conditional use permit to do anything beyond testing, and then they can still go test,
Right.
and they can still, they could still, attempt to proactively solicit support. But the situation that some folks are running into where these companies are showing up with a contract in hand for a project that's not been approved, it's nice to be able to tell them there's a moratorium in effect, and you don't need to sign this and commit yourself to anything because this project has not been approved.
Approved to the commission.
Okay.
So,
I think that's just part of what Virginia was saying of protecting our citizens, what we can do, which is limited, but still.
and one reason having a resolution and a moratorium working together is helpful, because a power company can come and challenge a resolution under that same public policy argument that they try to use to get people to believe that they'll always lose in an eminent domain proceeding. So if you have the moratorium, that's something else that entity would have to try to work through to put a project on the board.
So a resolution can always be rescinded from any commission,
Right.
right? A moratorium, though, is it more?
I wouldn't say it's as difficult to overcome as a resolution necessarily, but they're two different kinds of controls. The moratorium is basically you're saying we're just not granting any conditional or special use permits until we've had time to consider this further. And with a resolution, you're basically saying you're never going to do this. And when you say never, that's when you give the other side an in to come in and make the public policy argument.
Okay.
Here, with the moratorium, the public policy is like, well, make your argument, we'll add it to our consideration. It's two different ways of protecting those rights, and they work a little differently, and it wouldn't hurt to necessarily have a resolution on renewable that mirrors this. But I would recommend go ahead and put both in place, because again, just from my perspective, the way I would challenge those two things are different. Right.
permanency of of this, where you're renewing it every year, you're, as a policy, we're adjusting to changes and kind of gives it more teeth that we're actually given you could probably have us open hearing on each year that you set this forward, and if you have some people that voice their opinions on renewables at that time, or like have Virginia or one of their groups, or the opposing side, before give that public hearing out there, so.
I just think we need to get something in place so that we can say, hey, let's look at this.
Yeah.
I think, we don't wanna get caught off guard. And as time goes on, we can discuss it again.
Well, the nice thing about this is, with it having a 1 year expiration, you're ensuring that you're talking about that every year. Which says someone goes to challenge the moratorium, the resolution, you can say, it's not, this is something we revisit every year. And every year our citizens have said A, B, and C. And we're sticking with this. And plus, it's nice to get the public dialogue on that. Because really, a lot of folks don't understand how those different projects work and how the energy system works. It's very, very complicated. And having that public access and education certainly isn't going to hurt.
So how would this affect also the city project?
It won't.
It's on their property.
It's on their property, yeah. We're limited to the unincorporated areas in the county.
Because we named Neosho Ridge Wind Project in here. I was just wondering.
I use that just basically to show that when you're making this moratorium, you had an experience already where you've done this once. I didn't quite say anything negative like, because of the lessons we learned there, we're not going to. But I did want to reference that event because
Okay.
Because you did learn some lessons from that. I think everyone has.
Still living.
Yes.
So, okay, this is just a question, because we just received this.
Right.
Right? So if we put this resolution in today, and it goes out and the public reads it, or, we think maybe then we would like to change it, then can we come back then?
Yeah, we could just do a resolution undoing this one and adopting something new.
Okay. We'll let Shirley read that. Anyway, just to make sure, because I would like to approve this today, but yet, as time goes on, and we learned with the wind farm, you learn more about it and do some research, and there might be something you want to change.
Right.
So, okay.
There may be some language you want to add, or there may be a court case comes down that says you're going to define commercial as solar or commercial renewable energy as something different, and we just update the language in here in the moratorium and keep it going.
Any other input?
Today.
I appreciate your work on this, because I know it's been
No,
something you had to research too.
No, it was interesting. It's quite a rabbit hole. It really is. And but I'm a fan of making it simple and direct. And if we need to modify, we can certainly do that. But I think what we got here would get the ball rolling.
So I'll make a motion to adopt resolution R23G, a resolution adopting a moratorium on consideration of special requests to use Neosho County roads, resources, and/or infrastructure for commercial renewable energy projects.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 3-0. Do we have an original?
Yeah.
I know it doesn't seem like much now, but I think there's just a lot coming down that we're gonna see a lot more of this, and
We got open spaces.
And the property is relatively cheap compared to other states, at least right now.
so I had someone from Wilson County tell me they're putting in an 800 acre.
Yes, I heard that.
One person owns 800 acres.
There would be some issues with that.
That-
Surrounding landowners and,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's coming. And I guess I didn't realize these transmission lines are really, what she is saying at the state level, that it's around solar. That's why they're building more.
But
And the wind also,
But
but,
they can use them for either one,
right,
Yeah,
and that's,
big extension cord.
something like that, so. Okay,
we're gonna see a lot more of that, we're gonna see a lot more people getting their doors knocked on and getting these proposals thrown out at them, and I think we're just getting started.
all right, next is a procurement policy. A while back, I kind of presented one, and now we haven't heard anything. And I forgot to make a copy of what I actually submitted. Just wondering where that's at. I thought I had left it.
Well, I think we left it at that you were gonna possibly, submit it to the next department head meeting or get some input back from.
No, Commissioner Costa was very much against that,
Yeah.
so we did not do that.
Well, we were doing that, and then I presented a policy.
Might as well be taking any action on that, or?
But I
I
think,
think we need to get closer to one. We've been saying up to
You wanna just table that and put it on the agenda for the 11th?
before you were on,
Yeah, I know.
when did we rescind the last one? So I guess again, the ones that you got from Montgomery County, there was actually two policies. I would like to see both of those policies. One's kind of setting the limits, and the other one is how are we gonna do the purchasing, the procurement, and having more detail.
as far as doing it, like when we did that rubric to give options of purchasing. I mean, that's mainly what you're talking about is a rubric. You're got 5 providers, every one of them's giving you this, then legacy costs and bottom. It's not ongoing, it's what's gonna cost to actually maintain and have that product for future. I mean, say this is $100,000 piece of equipment, but you have an annual maintenance of that of another 5,000. So at 10-year increments, this is actually going to cost that much more money to you to actually handle that or have that piece of equipment.
I thought we,
I mean, kind of like
That's the one I presented. The other one is more detailed
Right.
of, we're going out, I don't know, it's pages
Okay.
long.
yeah.
Anyway, if we want to look at this at the next meeting, do we want to send that out to department heads? I thought that,
I think it'd be nice just to sit it out and then have a discussion about it as far as.
They do have a copy.
okay,
There's some clerical things inside there, and then the graph on the front. It says 0 to 2,000, you do this. From 2,000 to 4,000, you do this. So 2,000 is listed twice, so you get the
do it
option
like-
to think. I think I'll do the 0 to 2.
Yeah,
You know,
like it
there's
needs
just
to be from the $1,999 to
And then the next
2,000.
one's 1,000. Yeah. So just some some initial
sure.
things like that, and then I think there also needs to be some elected official verbiage in
Yeah.
there, for sure. That conversation needs to be had, as well as elections. You know, I'm only
Exceptions?
exceptions for elections
I'm sorry, I
because
didn't miss that.
No, that wasn't listed on there. I think another one would be motor vehicle as an exception.
Those are good, yeah, so. Do we want to adopt one without the other, or do we want to look at that multi-page?
I think the majority of the multi-pay goes to the federal and state
Right,
grant issues more than, it had a base county policy, but then attached following all the state and federal guidelines with any grant.
Right. And my notes here, add precise language for elected officials, add language on the process, and the exception for grant funds, which we just touched on both of those. So,
okay.
for the rest of that.
I think we're close, but
I think so.
I just want to keep it on our
Yeah.
unfinished business, so we don't just,
If we had something about the rubric type style of presenting.
I'm not sure if it said that or not in there.
well,
I don't remember.
I like the
we
idea
need to come up
because
with a form. I was thinking we need to come up with a form of fill this out,
you have
review,
your list of
submit.
vendors.
and the informal, quotes.
So it's-
I think if we have an approved form, then we will get the same information. I just
you
didn't
might
make
have
the
two
form
or
up.
one.
Do you wanna make the form up? There wasn't one in any examples that I looked at. But I think that's something that needs to be added.
Look somewhat similar to what Nelson. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
good breakdown. It
She did
had
good.
six.
So I think that's, yeah, I think that needs to be included in it, I guess, so that everyone's submitting the same information. So that we get the same
Improve
information.
the thought process and before I just said, I want to buy that item.
I need this item
I need
now.
this, I need this now.
Okay. I
It
think
kind of
if we,
also gives the person doing the purchasing an idea, well, this isn't just that price.
right. But I think we had talked about adopting it for 6 months, seeing how it works, and then actually adopting it as policy or as a resolution. I don't know. You can adopt it as policy or as resolution. But at least
We have something.
we've got something. So I think we need to work on a form.
Put together a rubric.
Okay. Next was the cell phone booster for the courthouse basement, was something that we had brought up and we haven't resolved. So you had meetings down there, Heather. How did people say anything about not being able to use their cell phones, or did it go okay?
So the appraiser's office has a booster now for personal property. And I would imagine it's helping downstairs to some extent. You can text, at least if you're a Verizon carrier, you can text, but you can't receive a phone call. Those cost anywhere from $300 to $500, but it's my understanding that those boosters that we are using up here aren't gonna be strong enough to use in a basement level. So I think you're getting into that $1,000 mark potentially, or something like that. Parcom and Parsons can certainly help us with that. I've made a few phone calls, I'm just waiting for them to call me back.
Okay.
But I have no trouble receiving texts, you just can't call out.
I'm not Verizon, so.
Unless you're at the top of the stairs. And if you come up the stairs, right, the base, you can get service.
I mean, I think it's a courtesy if we have meetings down there, but then also if we're a shelter during severe
Right.
weather, we're just so connected to our phones that
Well,
I
we
just think
actually
it's a
had
service that we can,
a medical emergency during our MSHA training, and we couldn't make a call out to 911. We had to go up there and go outside. And that's why I brought it up.
well, okay, so that's why I'm just bringing it up again. Are the commissioners willing to pay that amount to have that service downstairs, I guess? Because,
Just pay it up for us, yes.
My other thing is that what about a landline just put into the meeting room?
And they're terrible.
Health department
Yeah.
has a landline, so it'd just be the matter of if they could connect over and come through the
Network it
same
over into
ceiling.
Cat 5 or Cat 6.
And come back over
Put a
and have it
headset.
sitting there in the kitchen area. That might be an option.
I mean, my question is, how many phone numbers do you know?
It's not about calling you. I mean, you probably shouldn't be receiving phone calls in there, but if you need to call
No,
out,
I
you
mean,
can
calling out.
Just adding a handset would be not too bad.
I mean, that's just another option.
I don't
Because
know.
these are all VoIP lines anyway, so just a handset off that line and you'd be probably fine.
There's just no guarantee that if you do a booster that it's gonna help. There's so many different carriers. So what works for Verizon may not work for US Cellular. Then there's this new patriotic line service that's come out. There's all these different ones. I don't know if we spend the money for the booster if it works for everybody. I mean, you'll run into that situation too, I think. So my office and I kind of talked and we kind of felt like the landline probably makes more sense to us. And if you don't know the phone number of who you need to call and it's not 911, you would have your cell. You just go to your contacts and pull up the phone number.
You have to still have it, you just don't.
You're just using the landline, but
If we're just putting it under for emergency use, I mean,
it won't cost us anything after that except the purchase of the phone. And we may just have an old phone that I can get,
Surely
just an
they
old used phone.
well, they might even have an extra handset for somewhere around there. Usually, I keep an extra in my store, so.
Right, and we may have one in the courthouse. I don't know, it would just be the cost for Kansas Communications to see if they could come up with a number I could call.
I mean, I just,
Like that idea.
that's
May end up
fine.
needing both, but yeah. Might as well start the landline.
Okay. That sounds good. Anything else?
Thursday's meeting, we start early.
You said you weren't available.
Well, I made myself a meeting. The
Okay,
boss gets to do that every so often.
Oh, the boss made it. Never mind.
So-
Okay.
I did send out an email because I had talked to some department heads and they didn't know anything about the work session. So I thought, well, I at least should put out something inviting them. So if we want to change, I have no problem with changing the time. See what, Thursday? No, that's fine. We had said it 2:00 because,
Yeah, I was thinking that was gonna be,
so we don't really have an agenda. This is just what I put down. I just want to have a conversation, kind of talking about the budget countywide. You know, where is the county? Not talking so much about departments individually. So you guys have anything else that you feel? I guess Heather, you're the one that suggested this. I didn't know if you had any ideas of how you thought. We don't have any information from the auditor yet, right?
He's waiting for me to call back. I think I should hopefully have something by end of day tomorrow, a rough first draft. And when I say rough, I mean it's gonna be rough. So, without having Rodney and not knowing how Rodney did things, it's put a lot of decisions on me, if I'm gonna be honest. Something as simple as if you look at your budget, it says the estimate for the current year we are in to build for the 24 budget, right? Or we were doing 23 budget last year this time, it provided a 22 estimate in that column. And Jacob doesn't want to make any decisions, right? He can't. And so that's kind of fallen on me, so, I'd asked the commission to, be a little soft on me. I'm not saying things in stone, but those things like that, like where did Rodney come up with those numbers? I have no idea. He never asked me, he never asked Sydney, he just had them. So, for instance, so then it's hard to know where that rollover is gonna be that we're projecting on some of the different various budgets. So my solution to it was, and Jacob thought it was a good idea, was, I'll pull the May financials, which we have, right? Provide those to him, and then based upon those summaries and looking back at where the 13th month lies and seeing what the comparison is to the percentages used up to that point at the end of May, and compare that with the 13th month for 22, while additionally your third source to look at is what he did in 22 when we built 23, and see how far off we are is where we arrived at those numbers. So just different things like that. Some of the non-budgeted items, Ronnie always kind of stuck an amount in there, like your special bridge, your special highway, some of those things. Those are non-budgeted amounts, so I told him, don't budget anything right now. Like, we can look at that after the fact. The other thing was, he'd asked if we want to make the same transfers going forward. I said no, like we don't know how much we need, if we've done wind farm the last 2 years for transfers, or one we were supposed to and one we did. So I again told him no, because I guess in my mind, I hope we don't have to use wind farm pilot money to support the budget. So some of those things, I've made those decisions because I don't know who else can. You three have to do it collectively. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. If something you're like, whoa, what the heck? I may not have the answer for it. I may have to contact Jacob, but that's kind of where we're jumping off right now. And it may not even look like we've seen before.
Or what the end product is gonna be. But we don't wanna use that Thursday. We don't wanna present anything.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta see where you are, and then
I mean, you can have any kind of conversation off of it. It's still a scheduled work session. You're just not making any decisions on those changes until we meet again. You can discuss it.
And your thing, it has what was budgeted or spent through the 13th month of 22.
In your workbook that I provided to you guys?
Yes, that's all.
Yes, it does. And then you've already, Kat emailed you where we are with the May financials.
Okay.
So you have that in your email, and then the 13th month was accompanied by their budget and binder.
Can you also get 21? Like the 13th month for the end of 21?
Can we go back like 3 years?
No, that's just, yeah.
I mean, we got budgets, right? Budget amounts for, I don't know how much were on those forms, how many years ago back.
Well, your 13th month will have that on it. It has a budgeted amount per that year for that department, so.
Right, the approved budgeted amount, you have that spreadsheet in addition to for each department, and that started in 2018, and it listed all the way out.
But not the actual money spent, we just have budget amounts.
Yes, so again, you can't look at your budgets for that information, like your approved budget, like if you were to find one on the website, because that's just that estimate that we had to find to create to do the next year's budget. So we'd have to, that's a lot of reports, but I don't know if I can have that to you again in 24 hours. We have to run those singularly by each department.
We just need the 13th month for those years.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. It'll take
Each
a couple hours to do that. Because we can only run one report at a time per department per year. I just won't have it. I mean, we can do that. I'm not telling you no. I just won't have that.
If we just did the whole county, I'd be happy with that.
Just the general fund is what you mean?
No, I mean, every
Actual
department.
expenses is what
Yeah,
you're-
actual expenses, the 52-page report that we get.
Yeah.
It'll be in your audited budget
Mm-hmm.
for 21.
The, I always forget what they're called. The status, budget status by fund.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, I mean, so I've created a one page for those. I would just plug those numbers in there so I can see from year to year what the actual expenses were.
Yeah, I'm not telling you no, I just can't have it to you by Thursday
Okay.
morning. I mean, we'll try, but I don't know if I can have it to you Thursday morning.
I don't know if we wanna get that specific.
Yeah.
I think we really just wanna talk about general things. So while we're asking for information, I guess, looking into the budget, a couple of things, that was one thing that was have actual spending for the last 3 years. One thing that we've never looked at is the breakdown of the courthouse general account. We've always just kept it at $500,000 or something like that. Courthouse general, 530,000, I think that's what we've had for, I guess I would like to see what the breakdown is, how much is insurance? Is there some money that we can save there? This is nothing we've ever,
Out of one year was like not much at all.
Well, good to know, because like take the elevator project, for example. Be nice to know if you
Yeah.
had built in to just absorb that and take care of it.
right now it doesn't look very good because we took the HVAC payment out of there, but we didn't budget it because by mistake, we thought we were gonna pay it with ARPA and then we can't pay debt. So we have that, we still
Right.
need to correct. But I just would like to see the breakdown, how much are we spending on office supplies? How much is, I think it just gets lost in that account. If we could just be provided with a register of all the expenses out of that account.
So courthouse general and we have courthouse contractual, so we do courthouse general commodities for all the supplies.
Right. That's all that's in that,
Yes,
okay,
would be supplies.
so that's easy.
Contractual would just be, anything that has to do with courthouse general, like just contracts, anything that had to be contracted out that was part of courthouse's responsibility to pay for, or the commissions, something you guys have done.
So we have postage in there, all that is part of
Postage
the,
is part of that, that's a contract, because we have that through.
we have part of Brett's.
You would have, last year you would have had postalocity, for the R&R mailers. Cause you didn't put that in my budget.
We didn't get reimbursed for that.
Yes, you did.
Okay,
You won't this
we
year,
won't this year,
and you won't next year,
forever.
as of right now. And that's somewhere between 12 and 15,000. And stamps just went up again, so.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
62 cents.
So there's different things. I can do like a detailed printout. I can't, I'll see what we can do.
Okay, that was just one question I had because I don't think we've ever looked at that account. It's just kind of been at that level. I'm not for sure what the actual spending has been. We were really close last year. I think we need to take a hard look at payroll and raises. Is there any way to get a list of all the positions in the county? Not by department, but I don't know, descending in order
Yeah, without names.
without name, just position.
It's by department with position names. That's what we provide for quotas. When people want that information, or employees want to know what other employees are making.
Okay, I'd like that information. We've got it
Go
covered.
back years. You know what I'm saying? Like more than 1 year. So we can see a chart other than
I
this.
think that'd be very difficult to get.
It'd be really hard. We'd kind of even have to go off of memory of the individual, and if they had a
I see.
had a boost in their role, or maybe they moved from sergeant, deputy to sergeant, or, you know, I'm just.
Yeah, I just trying to figure out.
Field appraiser to maybe, I don't know, whatever, but that, I don't think
I just
can-
think we're,
I don't think I can do that.
Initially, if you just had the totals, it'd be something to work off of,
Right.
and
Well,
Just
or you
to
know what, year to year, what they got, cause there was a lot of COVID money that went into salaries too, so, at those times.
I'm not gonna ask HR to give us
No,
much detail.
I know,
So, at least after our dollar raises from last year,
You know, your budgets, I don't know if you've looked at them yet, but the 23 personal services do reflect not what was necessarily approved last year for this year's budget. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It encompassed the dollar.
right. I'm perusing for a couple hours.
Yeah. Those amounts are encompassed upon with that addition of the dollar to those that received it.
yeah, I just think, yeah, I'd like to get a countywide, you know, kind of breakdown. Start there
Yeah.
and see
Is there a way to get what are filled more?
Do what now?
film.
Like,
Film,
like you'll have the position breakdown if they're open slot for that department.
It's on the Cora
Okay, that's what I'm just, that's what I'm saying,
that I
like,
give out for those. Yeah, it's on there.
okay,
Good.
If
you,
they have
you get what
several.
I'm saying, if there's
If they
no,
have several, be vacant.
yeah.
Okay, any other information you guys are looking for as we go through the budget?
Sharpen. No, just kidding. It's always the funnest time of the year.
The first.
Funnest?
It'll also, and so the draft also will encompass if everybody got what they wanted and it was Christmas time, just so you know. So like,
oh.
So
Yeah.
submitted,
I just figured submitted.
okay,
So that way I'd rather we start, it's, I think, for me, I guess, for my mindset, it's easier to start high and they say, we gotta cut 2 million or whatever it is, I don't know at this point yet, but
well, it's only fair they submitted that budget that we
The wish
at
list.
least look
the
at.
wish list,
The wish
exactly.
list.
That's how it was, yeah, was built.
Okay, I had this from the auditor that he wanted us an MOU, so we were trying to figure out what this was because it says,
Is this an additional review, or is this just restating what we'd agreed to before?
It's restating,
Okay,
and he asked Sydney and I to sign it. I said I was
oh,
not signing
thank you,
it.
it's only my signature.
I said I was not signing it just because he is your guys' auditor.
Mhm.
I think it's, you know, you guys need to sign it, it's not our place.
Well, I don't understand, he says we expect to begin our examination on July of 2023. Have they not already begun?
Or is this for the following year?
No,
No, December 22nd.
they collected data, and I'm pretty sure he has everything he needs to this point. But I don't.
Okay, so he's saying they've got the data, they're gonna start doing the breakdowns next month. Okay, a little bit later than we would have liked, but. Of course, we have something to look at.
I'm not surprised, so
Yeah.
I want a job well done and everything researched, so I'd rather he do a good job than try to do something quickly and not understand where we're at.
In October.
So they're, it's better than January next year. So I guess there is no deadline on here. It doesn't say how long.
Thought we did that in the solicitation of.
June 1st was when he was supposed to submit something. Was $4,500, I don't have that information.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
Was
correct.
that was, okay. And then the budget help was a separate
Yes.
line, that's not included in this.
You're gonna have to complete some of this analysis to really help us with the budget, so I can't imagine it's taking too long.
In accordance with our firm policies, work may be suspended if your account becomes 90 days overdue. They want to get paid monthly. I just haven't. I guess I would like to have it in writing when this is gonna end.
You mean when we're gonna have the report due, or when?
Yeah. It doesn't really state, but
No, I mean, he's made some comments to us before, but they're not reflected in this letter.
I would like an estimate of when he thinks that he's gonna have something to us. At least have it in writing that this is our expected,
due date.
because our due date was June 1st. And now we're signing
Well,
that he's just
we
beginning.
did have
and
the
so-
issue with CIC that
True.
put
And they were
almost
right
2 weeks
in the middle
behind.
of that. Yeah, they were right.
So I think just an understanding, I mean, what do you think, Brett? I mean, should we,
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have some deadline.
Expected due
Right.
date. Or
With the understanding, if he receives other information after that, he'll modify his findings, but, it'd be nice to have some idea when to expect that report.
because we've done this before and sometimes it's, what, December, January?
Right.
I-
And by then it's not doing you a whole lot of good.
Right. So I think we'd like to get some kind of wordage of, we believe we will try to present during this time. Because,
We'll make
I
it
mean,
good faith
are they
effort.
thinking 2 months, 6 months? It really, I'd like to have an idea before I
hopefully
sign.
not 6 months from the next month.
So,
What kind of timeline do you prefer? We should probably say we, like it by September 1st, or like it by, October 1st.
so our invoices for these fees will be rendered each month if they're 90 days overdue. So are we still getting invoices?
So we'll pay invoices when they start billing for hours of examination.
I mean, how long, 60 days, 90 days?
From when? From July 1st?
Yes. What do you think our expectation should be, since you're the one that has,
This, I can tell you, is more work than even he anticipated taking on the Ocean County.
not surprised?
You guys, it's a lot. And we have been doing it legally correct, not the best way. So, he is starting to kind of question and ask some of those things. I know he's looked at a lot of things, so I think preemptively they're working on it. I don't know if he's started, all the paperwork and things, because I know he's asked a ton of questions. And he's been, speaking with Sydney about a ton of questions in addition to myself. So I don't know how to answer your question, but at the same time, I get what you're saying about we want it and we want to see it. But the fact of the matter, we're probably not going to see it again this year for budget time. And then number 2, I really hope that we are at a place where it looks better and it makes sense. Right now too, the wording makes sense.
Yes.
On the budget and the audit and things like that when we pass it. And so some of those things were interfering on his time away from the audit because we're doing the budget stuff, which again in itself is kind of convoluted too. So I don't know how to answer the question, what's enough time? I don't.
So can we say we would like an update in 60 days?
Sure. Why don't we
Or
do
do we
a
want an
monthly
update,
update?
a monthly
Why don't we
update of
just ask them to
progress?
send a monthly update with their invoice.
Yes.
Let us know where they are and.
Let's add that, just,
Good idea.
I don't wanna lose touch, and they think that we, gonna give them the next 6 months to do it. And it may take, whatever it takes, but yeah, I think we need to know where things
Well,
are
we
at.
need to know anything we need to correct.
Those updates.
Yes,
we-
because as time goes on, we're still doing
Right.
the old stuff this year.
Those
So,
updates from him might help him keep issues in focus, and he's
Well,
writing us a monthly update.
and you just need to follow best practices on the county part of it, so.
and can we add like 3 signatures so it's not just me?
Sure.
There'll be more, power behind it if all 3 commissioners sign it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we can just call up to Jacob and just get an idea on the timeline, ask him about the updates, and let him sign it. and then-
That's right.
There you are with that.
Okay.
We won't let you go.
So,
I mean, they were asking for Cindy and Heather,
I know.
so it'll just be 3 different signatures, so.
Yeah, I'm not signing it.
So if you wanna visit with them and see kind of,
yeah, I don't know.
or Heather, or which either one, just says concerns, I think, before we sign. So.
Okay.
It just kinda came as a surprise, I guess, so.
Well, it wasn't entirely clear exactly if this was a restatement or if this was something else.
Yes.
So,
So.
Yeah. I knew he started on things, with some of the things I've asked him. So,
He's definitely in review and he's getting
Mhm.
aware, he's looked at it enough that you can be telling him about something and he already remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I called him and I just appreciate his work and his honesty, I think, and wanting to get to the bottom of everything and do the research and the time that it's taking. And he's asking questions or asking for help where he needs to. So, okay.
Meeting on Thursday, did we say a time?
Well,
I'm thinking early.
since I already sent this out to the department heads, they've probably already planned their day around 2:00.
We can always adjust that.
Can they? I mean,
We had a couple of department heads call my office today asking when it is and what's the agenda and what time they have to be there.
Well, like early.
okay, so they don't read their emails, okay?
I don't,
So-
I don't,
I can't say much, I didn't know if I was working on one, so. I left early. They'll let me.
We set a time, I just think this
Well, I
short
think
notice.
we kind of, even the last meeting, we kind of had a tentative time, because if we thought we were gonna do some budget talks today, we were gonna maybe cancel Thursday too, so that's what. We did have that discussion.
we'll be talking
But you definitely said you weren't available, so.
Rose,
about that.
I made some
Jacob
rearrangements.
to make sure and have that first draft done.
I didn't get that done on Monday.
Well, there'll be some changes in, on the court side, and trying to get the contract amounts approved, and I might have that by Thursday, so. Or at least, I'll say approved, but I know I'll be supposed to work on that by Thursday.
Well, if we're gonna do early, let's do early. Because everyone comes to work and then if we wait till 10:00,
No, yeah, I'm right up early.
so.
Hmm?
6.
6.
8.
Well,
Put a cap on it, if we're not done by
I mean, I
noon
don't
or
think we're
something
gonna
like
be
that.
that long, are we?
I'd say 8, and so we'll probably been hashed out if we're getting too long in there, but it'll start phasing out a little bit.
And then my other question is, the basement, having the meeting in the basement. So I kind of have it all arranged, just as a preview, because the tables and linens were already down there because of the election training. We can still record the meeting, it just won't be live, so we'll upload it later.
If necessary.
Oh, I don't know.
I knew you
still-
did, so we tested the camera today.
I like it all over.
It is open.
I know. There's very few people actually get to us. Only the brave ones, like Shirley.
I don't know any other county that records their work sessions, but
I know, I'm with Shirley.
I just want our department heads to feel like they can freely speak their mind. At least that's, I think, a more informal setting than this is. So,
If they're spending the taxpayers' money, everything should be wide open. All the sunshine that needs to be in there.
so we wanna do 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock sounds great. Heather's gonna have to get up an hour earlier.
Is there anything that you guys wanted to add to tell the department heads? I mean, do we need to put an agenda out on the website? We have a meeting notice. I think that's all we need for a work session.
Yeah, just a notice. I know that, I think the department has, it would be nice if we knew what your expectations of us were. Like, what all are we being prepared for? Are we being prepared to be snowballed and kicked out the door with what we requested, or we need to bring all the documentation, or what do you,
What we, my opinion is, like I stated in
how
this
deep are
email,
we getting?
I just want open discussion about what concerns them most about the future of Neosho County. What's their greatest aspirations, and how do we gap that, and how does the commission help them to get to that level? What are we doing to hold department heads back? So to me, it's just general. I think then we should have each department head come to us in work sessions like we have before and explain their increases or decreases in their department. I don't wanna get
I didn't
into
see any of those,
specific.
did you? Decreases.
Oh.
I didn't see a decrease on the wish list, so no, I was looking.
No.
And I understand.
I'll have to
I
look.
understand that.
I didn't bring that.
You also remember that 11-12% residential increases on the valuation is a tax increase.
Yes.
And I've heard plenty of people complain.
So that's gonna be the biggest job for us, is how do we balance
Keeping employees.
keeping employees, attracting new employees, and making our citizens happy, make sure that they feel like they're getting their money's worth. So that's
I would
the hard
actually
part.
like to see a little bit of the conversation had during the work session in regards to explaining the budget. I think the podium in front of you guys in this setting does make it a little difficult for a safe place for the department heads to explain themselves and provide that information.
I do, one thing I don't want is, I know we get it, on some departments, we always get the what if. We can't budget off the what if. We can only budget off the facts of what's here and this is where it's gonna be.
Yeah.
What if we will have to adapt, or, cause I've heard, well, what if this catastrophic event happens? It might happen. Might not, but we can't budget off that what if. Fixed numbers are the best.
I would agree.
Like, as you know there's an election next year. You know this is what's going to have to be. It's not a possibility that's going to happen. That is going to happen next year.
Yes, a full-blown pre-election section. Yeah, for sure. So I guess I would like to see some of that, like if we were gonna think, that was my expectations, is that you guys would kind of talk about each budget with each department head, with their concerns, at least in a general aspect, if you had initial questions. Because my fear is that if we wait much longer until the next meeting, we haven't even gone over them yet.
Might have to have some discussion about their budget.
At least any initial questions, maybe, that really just
I mean, I guess
jump
I'd
out
still,
at
you've
you.
got all of your department heads sitting there, and then you just have one talking about their budget.
Oh, they're all listening whether they're here or not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well,
Not
I
wasting
think
your time,
the
though.
round table part of it
Might make it
might
better.
make it better. We're not singling that person out right there at that meeting on the podium. We're, as it comes in, we can have a talk and talk about the perceptions of the public, what they see and what they expect of us.
Mhm.
I mean,
It'll be good. So,
that's a good point.
So, 8 o'clock in the basement.
Hey, we used to have members Friday at 8 o'clock, and some of them went till 7. Every week.
I better ran a marathon with that marathon meeting.
give them to me now. All right, I don't think I have anything else.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 3-0. All right.
I guess we'll see you Thursday at 8, Nick.
Yeah, that's all right. You have to get up, Paul.
I'll be up. Not a problem.
That trash.
Luckily, I didn't have nothing to do.
Oh, that's right here.
Touch it.
And I guess Richie will come to the next meeting.